municipality within which you reside. Anyone here to give public comment at this time? Okay. Ashley, do we have anyone on the internet?
There's no one online, Chair.
Okay. We'll move then to the report from the county administrator.
No report, Chair.
Thank you. Move now to our BOC liaison report. Any report from the BOC liaison?
No report tonight, Chair.
Great. Move on then to our loan discussion item 5, the budget request process presentation. Catherine Jones-Alter, who's our deputy finance officer, is here. And Catherine, I'll turn it over to you. Do you have a preference in terms of questions, either peppered as they come or at the end all at once?
Peppered is great. It will not be just me. We have 2 of my analysts presenting tonight too. So I asked their preference and they also want questions as we're on the slides. So
Okay.
it should be good.
Commissioners, just give me the nod and I'll try and get you in the queue.
Okay. Oh, you don't have the PDF, do you? I don't have. Okay. When did you guys email after the PDF? It's on the blue drive and the information presentations. I'm so sorry. Forgot to do that one piece. We'll get that to you shortly. Got distracted by the festivities earlier. Forgot to do the one piece I needed to do. Did you find it?
Yeah. I'm gonna go quickly to Commissioner Robbie, who asked for a little time here.
Unrelated to your presentation, just to buy you time mostly. But I just wanted to take a quick opportunity to thank all of my colleagues and our board chair for the wonderful celebration that was just had, and to all the staff that came. It was a surprise and it was very heartwarming, and the food was delicious. And we were celebrating the fact that my wife and I are expecting a little one due on October 30th. So thank you all for celebrating me and my family to be. I really appreciate you. I love you all. Thank you.
Okay. With that, I think we're at.
Go ahead, Catherine. Yeah.
How you follow?
Okay, I think we're good. Presentations and board portal for you all now. So sorry for that. So yeah, it's the start of budget season. We're here. First official budget presentation of the budget reaffirmation. And I'm excited. I feel like it's like second budget data day. So there's lots of charts and graphs for you all to work through in a little bit. So tonight, we're going to go through the budget reaffirmation process just to set some context of where we are at. Go through the request process, summaries, quadrants. It's the new way we're talking about budget requests, talking about the biggest impacts, and then lastly, key insights and next steps. I'll be sharing this presentation tonight with 2 of the budget analysts. So Marie Pfeiffer and Rachel Rosenberg have been on the budget team for a while, and they wanted to take a stab at presenting some of the data to you all. They led this process with the organization. So yeah, they'll be doing their parts of it too. So for the reaffirmation, just a reminder, so earlier this year, we adopted a budget calendar for the 26 through 29 reaffirmation. It laid out the timelines for the resource management, which you all got at the first meeting in September. Then the budget request process, which we're talking about tonight, and then standard reaffirmation items that will all be coming with the recommended budget. It's not yet completed. We don't have recommendations together yet. We are still waiting on some different factors, but we are planning to bring that all together for you all at the next working session on the 15th. Other reminder, oops, sorry. Last year, we made 3 big budget policy changes. I just wanted to remind you all about them. The first one really does impact this budget request process, which was talking about reserving 50% of funding that's allocated in that process for operational needs, whether it's structural or non-structural. The other 2 are making sure we're keeping or assigning operational costs to a program, so making sure we're not creating a position and not having operational expenditures associated with that. And then lastly, asking for data and metrics. So this is the first reaffirmation where we're really trying to implement these policies. So that first one is one that we will talk about a little bit more in the coming weeks. So then additional context, just to set the frame. We knew when we started this process, and it is true, budget requests are going to exceed our available resources. We know there is more need, more ideas in the organization than we can fund. That's not a bad thing. It's good to know what is out there, what is needed, so we can plan and really allocate our resources wisely. That being said, they also don't live in a one-time vacuum. So we have the ability to have that, use that as an inventory. If we can find funding or creative ways of solving or implementing some of those, we have the ability to do that throughout the years. It's not just if it's not done now, it can never be done. There are a significant number of operational budget requests that reflect those increased inflationary costs that departments have been trying to absorb annually, and we've been hearing how much more difficult that has gotten in recent years. So that's a big component of this process. The last thing on the numbers so that we could provide comparisons across different types of requests. Everything is shown on a 4-year average. So if it's a non-structural request, you're going to see 1/4 of it on this number, but in the full request, we'll talk about it, or if we're recommending it, we'll talk about that full dollar amount. So there might be some back and forth where the numbers seem like they're different. The other thing is for structural, often it's cheaper in the first year, more expensive in the 4th year. And so using an average helps us kind of think about overall resources from that quadrennial picture. So it's a little wonky, but hopefully it will start to make sense as we walk through that. So with that, I am turning it over to Marie to talk about the process.
Yep. So talking a little bit more about the process, looking back when we presented this to you last time, there were a lot of questions from you all about the process. So I'm going to be deep diving a little bit more into it to hopefully eliminate any confusion and to kind of express how we follow through with this. So requests were submitted between May 28th, June 23rd. Rachel and I kicked this off at our department head and county management leadership team meeting on the 28th. We also provided departments and county offices with a time to ask any additional questions during a Q&A session on June 9th. From there, departments and offices submitted their budget requests via forms. We took a lot of the feedback from those who submitted requests last time around and actually made a smarter Microsoft form. So thank you, IT, for providing that for us. So we only asked questions based on the initial type of request. So this eliminated any challenges of lengthy questions or missing details. And from there, the budget analyst worked closely with those who submitted the request to build out budget grids. So each request had a line item budget attached, and this helped really those submitting requests to think through immediate and long-term impacts on those. Altogether, this phase resulted in 77 total requests, and they were compiled into operational needs, position modifications, new programs, and non-structural adjustments. From there, we had our finance review. So requests were confirmed they matched the intended categories that I listed previously. And then a key part of this review was identifying requests that were net neutral, so meaning that no general fund dollars would be needed. Additionally, position requests were forwarded to HR, so they could be reviewed for job descriptions, classifications, and JAQ prep that they're working on. Between July 17th, August 8th, the budget review team and subject matter experts got their hands on these requests. So our reviewers, formerly known as the Budget Task Force, which we used last iteration, were this time around broken into 2 groups for scoring, which are the SMEs, or we're calling them the subject matter experts, and the budget team review. During the scoring process, reviewers sent Rachel and myself questions as they were going through the requests. Those questions were compiled, sent out to departments and offices who submitted them, and then the responses and answers to those questions were then shared across all the reviewers just to maintain that consistency in scoring as they received the information. Lastly, and how we get to now, after we received the scoring, which ended on August 13th, or sorry, pardon me, August 8th. We took the weekend, then we came back to it on the 13th. The budget team compiled all the results into a budget request summary, which should be in your hands, if not today, very, very soon. This includes, so the information that we received to put together the summary included raw data, scoring results, and then the narratives for each request. Data was then validated with the departments to confirm the accuracy, ensuring that the finances were correct and that the narrative and context actually match what the department and office's intents were of the request. This past month, the data has been prepared and integrated into not only this presentation for you, but the budget request summary document that will be distributed. This is something that everyone should be familiar with. This is a scoring metric that has not only been utilized within the last request process, but also other finance processes as we look at rankings of the requests. They were scored with a potential between -15 and 100 points. Given the way that these points are breaking down, it's really difficult to get anywhere close to 100 points, as there are very few things that are mandated, fully reimbursable, has a strong impact on climate equity, building safe and healthy communities, and good governance. Of course, I'm sure we wish every request did. Across the total number of requests, the scores did range from 12.4 to 70.3. So that kind of narrows our scored range. And then to note here, while we're on the slide, the impact scoring accounts for 68% of their total score. So just to note, as we discuss some of those impacts later on, the cost recovery and the mandate levels would account for 32% of their total score. Breaking down our two review groups. So why do we have subject matter experts this time around? This is actually a direct response from you all the last time this process was presented. So you all had questions asking, since we have officers such as the racial equity officer, the resiliency officer, why were they not weighing in their expertise for these budget request processes? So this time around, we did include our racial equity officer and resiliency officer to support in sharing their expertise with the scoring. Looking into the other two impacts that we score, we don't have direct officers for those. So we did compile committees who really brought a broader range of expertise across the county for those impacts. Looking into their scoring, the SMEs scored each request only within their technical expertise. So for example, our racial equity officer, Derek Jackson, scored all the requests, but just under the equity impact scoring. And to note and call out Derek, if you are listening, he did create a matrix during his scoring that really was able to have a consistent number scoring based on his notes of the request. So we're really hoping to implement this next time in the future across all the impacts. So stay tuned next time around. Lastly, the budget review team. So the names that you see up on your screen here were volunteers. Rachel and I sent out a form emailed to all departments, offices, and labor management teams. Those that submitted their interest and willingness of time were assigned roughly 30 requests, and they scored against standardized criteria. As you may notice, there is a smaller review group compared to last time around. This is really due just to the ongoing processes that we're going through alongside, such as the resource management process, which took away a lot of time and effort from those that would have typically volunteered for this. In addition, many of the subject matter experts who were part of the budget task force, so to say, last year, were broken off. So collectively, we had a really great group of scorers. And to note, none of the reviewers on the budget review team reviewed their department's requests. So really that created an unbiased scoring across them. And from there, I will pass it off to Rachel Rosenberg to talk some data.
Hello, commissioners. So as budget analysts, we are going to bring you some budget data. We had 77 budget requests submitted from 13 of the county, or 23 of the county departments. Analysts advised their departments to submit requests if they were unsure if it would go through this process or if it would come to this board separately. We let them know that we could always remove it from this list if it's going to not go through the scoring process, but we could not add it later after the deadline. We were pretty firm on that deadline. So from the 77 requests submitted, there were 8 requests that were not reviewed by the review teams. 6 of them had no impact to the general fund, and 2 of them were moved into a different process. So of the 69 requests that were reviewed by the peer review team and the subject matter experts, we had 4 new program requests, 21 program modification requests, and 31 operational modification requests, and 13 one-time funding requests. Catherine's going to talk the next 2 slides.
Sorry. So I don't want to make them talk about the things that got weird and we put them in different places. So the first one is the 6 net neutral ones. These are primarily non-general fund departments. There is one on there that is general fund, which is the treasurer request, but they're all funded by existing allocations. So in case of the treasurer's request, it was reallocating other budget lines to fund this cost. The other ones are a combination of additional revenues or traditional, or they've had revenues generating above and beyond. So these are net neutral because they have 0 impact on the general fund. And traditionally, if we have validated that they will be net neutral, we are comfortable recommending them moving forward as long as there's no general fund impact. So I'll talk more about that in the recommended budget, but that's those ones. The other ones, we moved 2 requests to different processes. So the first one's the soil erosion officer. They did not want to wait until January. It was with a fee increase. So that was the one that came to you at the last meeting. Final reading is tonight, so it doesn't need to go through a budget reaffirmation request. It's already before you all. The second one is a position that's kind of in between both IT and water resources. It's a business technology, I think, specialist. And it is a vacant position that has been hard to fill for a couple of years. We have this JAQ job. I don't remember what the AS questionnaire. It's how employees submit for a reclassification based on the work that they are doing. HR validated that if the position was filled, it would have fit in this process. It's vacant, so it can't run through the process, but it's the same kind of thing. So we're treating it as the same kind of thing for budgetary purposes next year. So it didn't, anyway, so it's independent of the scoring. So we'll talk about that a little bit more, but just you'll see that request in there, and that's why we moved it, because it felt fairer to treat it like the process if it's a failure of our processes to meet the need as opposed to actually about the request. It's kind of wonky. I mean, if you have any questions, but I'm sure it'll come up more in the reaffirmation stuff too, but turn it back over.
Okay, so from the reviewed budget requests, we had 4 types of requests that I mentioned earlier. These are the total amounts by the service area that was submitted. So this is in your packet. There is other ways that we are also going to view this data. This is the number of requests breakdown by service area and department. It's a sunburst chart. Some of the text can be small and hard to read, but it's another way to view it. Support services did submit 2/3 of all requests, but we did receive requests from every service area. The financial request breakdown, on the left side of the screen, you're going to see the structural requests, which totaled 12.9 million. We have this shown in the 3 different programs that fall into this, or 3 different request types that fall into this, separated by the service area. On the right side, you will see the non-structural requests, which totaled 10.1 million in the 2 service areas that were requested. Total FTEs requested totals 29.05. The reason that is not a whole number is because there are some requests that did not submit a request for an entire FTE. Some were for a half an FTE or even a smaller fraction. The service areas that submitted requests for FTEs were civic infrastructure, health and human services, public safety and justice, and support services. Now, we broke down the requests into quadrants. This chart that is on the slide is an example of what the quadrants could look like. Our quadrants look a little different because the data is clustered different. So on the left side, the y-axis of the chart, you will see the score total. And along the x-axis, which is the horizontal one, you will see the cost total. We use the word impact to go along with cost because Marie had mentioned that 68% of the score did come from those 4 impact areas: the building safe and healthy communities, climate equity, and good governance. So our score summaries. On the left, you will see the average score by request type of these 4 requests. The one-time funding requests had the highest average score of 45.8. We did expect the operational requests to score lower, and they did, but not significantly lower than the other 3. The average score by service area is also shown, along with the average score by the quadrant that the request fell in. So you have high impact, low cost, high impact, high cost, low impact, low cost, and low impact, high cost. This is the same view, but in the financial summary. So you have the total request by type of each of the 4 request types, the total cost by the service areas, and then the total cost by the quadrants. So I'm going to turn it over to Catherine, and she is going to get into the details of the quadrant summaries.
Any questions before I keep throwing data at you all? I'm just gonna take a quick pause. Okay. Great. So this is what our requests look like when we plot the scores and the general, the cost impact to the general fund. As Rachel said, they're not evenly distributed at all. They're very clustered. The good news is most of them were under $200,000 in requests. So there's a lot of $200,000 or less requests out there. Just in the world, if we start talking about the big numbers, it seems hard to get your head around it, but it is a lot of small things that are really in this request process. The other part is the scores are a little bit more evenly distributed from that 12 to 70 point value. So when we put the quadrant principle on our chart, this is what it looks like. It's not the prettiest shape I've ever seen in my life, but it is how we kind of divided. We used 200,000 as the determinant between low cost and high cost. As just a kind of estimate, as more of a gut reaction, but if we went any lower, it felt hard to be like anything above $50,000 is a high cost budget request. That felt not right. So that's where we put that in. And then the average score, or sorry, median score, not average, median score of 44 was used to divide high impact from low impact. I'd also like to point out the budget scheme of low cost, high impact, green, go. We like those more. Red, low impact, high cost, a little more wonky. There was a lot of thought put into those colors. So high impact, I shouldn't say go like we can fund everything. That sounded like way too much of a promise. And I just want to walk that back right now. Like high impact, low cost. There are 22 requests in this quadrant, average score of 53. That cost ranges from $3,800 to $193,000. So a decent range among the costs, but you can see where the scores kind of fell on that plot. Within this category are 10.35 FTEs. So again, these are the ones that, according to all the different reviewers, I don't know if we said this or not, but when we used these scores here, we averaged the SME score, the peer review score, and the department score. So we treated them each equally. We can play with different weightings, but it felt fair when we looked at the data to kind of take each of the different perspectives into account from this. I'm not going to read you this slide, but here is the list of all of them. They are in order that they were received. So on the left, you see a number. That number is just the request ID. It doesn't mean anything except for us to find things and for you all to be able to find things when you look at that request summary data. The total score is that number that is on the right. That is the total score, but you also can see the ways the different components are made up. So the green bars are mandate. Yellow is cost recovery, meaning has other funding that's not general fund. The red is the building safe and healthy communities, dark blue climate, light blue equity, green is good governance. So you can see there's different ways that the different charts are made. There are so many requests in this quadrant that we have 2 slides. I mean, I think it's a good thing that the biggest quadrant that we had was the high, right? I'm saying that right? The high impact, low cost had the most requests. So that feels also good. To me, it feels, I mean, it's still hard to put your head around this much, but there is, if there's not a lot of wild requests out there in this process. Looking at the next one, high impact, high cost. So there are 13 requests in this quadrant. Average score of 56.9. The cost ranges from $224,000 to $2 million. And average, or sorry, FTEs in this are 9.5. Oftentimes that means that there are multiple FTEs in one request, not that each FTE is above $200,000. I don't want to give that perception, but if they ask for 2 FTEs, then oftentimes we can be above the $200,000 mark. So here's the list of these 13 requests, similar process. The score on the left, or the number on the left is just an ID number, the order that were submitted. The scores on the right are the actual, or the numbers on the right, are the actual score. And again, this is meant to be a reference point for you all. If there's anything you want to ask questions or highlight, we're here for a few months to talk about the budget. Yes. Oh, fair. Community corrections number is wrong. Good, that fixed. I was like, I will say that there, I don't know what's up with the data, but there's not a $2 million request for community corrections. So we'll get that fixed. Yeah. Sorry, we missed that in our vetting of things. But this does include our highest scoring request of the jail, food and medical, which is an average cost of 1.8 million. That is a real number. So just the community corrections number is the wrong number. It's towards, yeah, the third from the bottom is that request. Sorry, we good? Okay. Low impact, low cost, 30 requests in this quadrant. Average score of 30.5, kind of cost range 1350 to 200,000, 12.4 FTEs in this cost. So they're more affordable, but they will make less of an impact than that first quadrant we talked about. This is another one where we have 2 slides because I didn't want to give you the world's tiniest text on this front. So I will scroll through the, what?
Units in the cloud.
Yeah. It does. It's, yes. You know, having our ERP system hosted is expensive, but not apparently the biggest impact, which is, you know, happens a lot to those things. Here's the other remaining ones of these requests. And then last quadrant is low impact, high cost. Good news, only 4 requests fell into this quadrant. So an average score of 29.8. Cost ranges from 291,000 to 605,000. There's 2 FTEs included here. And that's these 4. So this is the case where I was talking about if it's more than 200,000, it's a case of asking for 2 positions, not asking for 1 position that's more than $200,000. And so that is the data part. We have another section on biggest impacts, but any questions on requests before I turn it back over? Okay.
Got a question from Commissioner Robbie.
Yeah, just really quickly, what was I was told I need to speak into the mic more.
Yeah.
What was the item about janitorial? That seems like pretty important potentially. Snow removal.
This
janitorial.
one?
Yeah.
So that is, yeah, those are general inflationary costs that hit our facilities team for snow removal, lawn maintenance, janitorial, our parking with the DDA are one of our favorite topics. Those costs, I know, I didn't want to say that. Those costs keep going up year over year. So this was their estimate of what those costs would be. It would cost an additional 605,000 over the course of the next quadrennial budget to fully fund all of those without changing operations in the rest of the facilities department.
So I mean, that sounds like something we have to probably pay for, right? I mean,
I mean, we, It's one of those where if we aren't able to fund it, we would be looking at reduced service levels. There's
Right.
other things involved in it. So, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Just while we're still here, I want to be real clear on that. If we didn't fund it at this $600,000 level, there'd be a reduction from the current level of service right now.
Okay, hold on, we're getting us. I don't know yet, but since you all are interested, I will have an answer
Okay.
on that one at the next meeting about what it would mean if we don't do
Yeah.
that. That's part of this is I want to know which ones you all need that information on. Because giving you a ton of information on 77 requests will never leave this room. So,
For the record, I don't care as much about the lawn maintenance part of it, but
okay. Janitorial specifically?
janitorial, snow removal seems important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Less lawn, more snow and janitorial. Got it.
Good question from Commissioner Sanders.
You,
I know.
you said something about never leave this room. You saying you've never worked late before?
I've worked, yes. We'll be here a lot. It's fine.
And so these, the snow removal on maintenance, janitorial, those are all outsourced, right? They're not. We don't
Yes.
have staff to do the janitorial.
Those are currently all handled by contractors. We have in the past looked at bringing staff on.
Mhm.
The last time we did that analysis, I don't remember exactly when, it was still more affordable to use contractors than to have county employees, but it is a factor that for these types of requests, we pay attention to.
So my first question would be, have we considered bidding these out?
They are bid out, I don't remember how, every 3 to 4 years, I'm guessing, but
And
they
so-
are bid out regularly.
I'm getting a nudge from the administrator that maybe if Jason Fee would be available,
Hey,
that might be helpful.
I was trying to look.
Good evening, Commissioners. Yes, janitorial, lawn, snow is all outsourced. We do shovel like our entries and sidewalks in the courthouse parking lot, but all other parking lots are contracted out. Yes, we do bid those on, I think we have a bid out coming up for the next season. So on roughly every 3 to 4 years, we are bidding those services out. And we just have seen a large inflationary increase across the board in our service contracts since the pandemic.
So these inflationary increases are already built into our current contracts? Or are they coming back and asking us to reopen up the contracts?
In some cases, they're coming back. In some cases, we're finishing out contracts and expecting to see increases in the next RFPs.
Okay, so I'm gonna be nosy and ask if you can share a breakdown of all 4 of these related to what the increases are for each one of these areas and whether or not any of these areas are asking for a renegotiation of a current contract or these increases would occur as their contract renews.
Okay, good. Jason's nodding. We'll get that for you at the next board meeting to have all that detail.
Thank you.
Yep. Any?
Got a question from Commissioner Scott?
I mean, I'm probably jumping the gun, but I mean, I'm gonna assume at some point you're gonna tell us which one of these requests of these 77
Mhm,
that is not feasible to do all 77,
mhm.
where we've come in those 7, because you guys have done all that review work.
Mhm.
Am I going forward too many acts in the play?
Yeah, so the plan is, I'll say this, so when we did the budget request process a couple of years ago, one of the pieces of feedback was when we brought the recommended budget, before we talked about the budget requests, it was hard to know how to respond to the recommended budget and what was there and the feedback from you all. So we've swapped, whatever the word is, those presentations to really talk about this, have this discussion, see which ones you all are leaning in on, which ones you have questions, so we can have a more robust discussion around what is recommended. So nothing in tonight, we're not going to be talking about what's recommended. That will be coming on the 15th. So 2 weeks, next meeting, we talk about the recommended budget.
When we see that, is this okay? Sorry. When we see that, are we gonna see like what that budget request is in conjunction with the current budget?
We can. I
That
can
would
make
be
that happen.
helpful. So like I could understand like, I don't know, like here's the current budget of this place that's asked me for more money with something. What's the current budget
Okay.
at that? How is this adding to it? What are the items in there? But like, I guess I'm saying, when I'm thinking about some of these impacts, I would like to understand what different places have done to address their own budget and shore up the budget
Mhm.
and do some work internally themselves, rather than just saying, here's my budget, and then I want extra.
Mhm.
I want to be like, here's my budget, here's what I've done to think about how I could cut certain costs or do certain things. And then I've fallen short this much. So I think, because this is a labor intensive process for
Mhm.
you,
Mhm.
the county, but it should be for when people are making these budget requests. It shouldn't just be like, yes, this and.
Mhm.
I would like to know that that work is happening in all the different places too.
Yes. And there's a lot, there's none on this slide, but when you see the bar charts that have that yellow component, oftentimes that is departments being like, or offices being like, I have 20% of this request. I've been scraping and I can get this far and I can't get the rest. So that's often how that shows up, but we can, as much as we have that information, I will give you everything we have, and things we're recommending, we can attempt to get that also for those if we.
I mean, and another layer I think that we can look at is the really revolutionary data that you brought us a few
Mhm.
weeks ago.
Yes.
And to look at what's happening in these budget requests along with what's mandated and the
Mhm.
mandated services by federal and state
Mhm.
policy and the mandated services by county policy passed at this table. And then look at the total budget with that too. I think that that is an important piece of homework for us all at this table when considering these things.
Yes, I will say also all of these requests, if it's not a new program, tie back to an existing program in that budget. So we can get information of how it plays into that, and we'll be able to continue having that resource management program inventory updated into the future.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Anything else? Okay. Another way to look at the data. Sorry. Ready?
So talking about the biggest impact, so we know that 68% of the total scoring was based on equity, climate, good governance, and building safe and healthy communities. From there, we have our subject matter experts who did go through all 77 requests and rank them by their expertise. So deep diving a little bit more, we had a big ask and we asked them to take all 77 requests and pull the top 5 operational and enhanced requests from there. So starting off with equity, these are definitions and examples that have been presented in the past. I won't read them, but if you'd like to quickly remind yourself what those definitions are. And then going into those top 10. So our racial equity officer pulled, for example, his top 5 operational requests that he believes scored the highest under the impact on equity. And then all other requests, which we are labeling as request enhancements or program enhancements. This could be including modifications, FTEs, requests such as that. You'll see the department, the request name, and then the average 4-year cost across the quadrennial budget. So for climate, you'll see the definition for our climate action plan, how those were scored. Or the guidelines, I'd say the definition. And then you'll see here how our resiliency officer ranked her top 5 operational requests and enhancement requests. The next impact, building safe and healthy communities. And the ranked top 10. And lastly, good governance. So the definition provided, some examples. and then the top 10. You will see a little nuance here. So.
Marie, I'm gonna interrupt you. We have a question from Commissioner Robbie.
Sorry if I missed it earlier, but who is ranking these?
Yes, here. How can I easily go back?
Oh.
Or,
It's, sorry, it's
Yeah.
the subject matter experts. So we had them using their expertise to say, these are the 5 operational that have the biggest impact. These are the 5 of the other categories that would have the biggest impact on that. So just taking a different look at it instead of just averaging scores and all of that.
But who are I guess who are the subject matter experts for?
yeah,
So-
so,
I can tell you.
okay.
Safe and Healthy Communities, it's Jimena Lovelock from Health, Crystal Campbell from the Sheriff's Office, and I forgot her name from,
I was about to say
a member from OCD,
Nicole Kennedy.
Nicole.
Yes.
And Nicole from OCD. So that's the one where Safe and Healthy Communities is like a new look instead of treating health and public safety as separate things. So we're trying to get 3 different viewpoints into that subject matter area.
And was this like, did they agree on these top 5 or did they each rank their own 5 and then?
That's a
Wait,
great
that-
question. So actually we took a calculated matrix from their top scoring requests. So, for example, you'll see in, building safe and healthy communities, or actually
No,
good
never.
governments is a good example. So since this was a committee, there were multiple people submitting their top 5 requests. We actually had some ties. So we took, for example, if the clerk's office request on enhancements was the top for somebody within the community, it was ranked higher than if they were scored the 5th out of the top 5. Does that make sense?
Yeah, weighted average.
Yes, weighted average. So we did have ties since the good governance impact in building safe and healthy communities was a committee level, so it's not just one person that was scoring it. So we did take the weighted average amongst the committees as part of that calculation. So under the enhancements, there was a tie for the 2nd ranked and a tie across 3 for the 4th ranked.
Thank you.
Any other questions before I pass it along to Catherine? Okay.
I will say also, so there's another document in board portal that has every single budget request we received. If something was ranked in the top 10, the subject matter experts saying this has the biggest impact, they got a little green star and a little extra call out on there. So as you're reviewing it, you're not trying to go back and forth on the different lists. We tried to make it as easy as possible to kind of get through the different documentation. So really to wrap everything up, I'm going back to what I said as context and kind of talking a little bit more about it. But so we knew budget requests were going to exceed available resources. I know when I first talked about the total amount of requests, over $12 million of structural, 10 million of non-structural, they feel like big numbers. They feel hard to absorb. This is the 3rd budget request process I've been a part of, and those are the smallest numbers I've seen in a total. The first time around, we had $63 million in one of the requests, and I was like, I don't know what to do with that. That's a giant chunk of the entire general fund budget. And so I think it's really showing that the organization is starting to really understand how to utilize this process, what makes sense, how to go through things, how to talk through it. I think it's also recognizing that they're really trying to narrow it down to what is really needed and not just, throwing things at the wall and seeing what's gonna stick. There's a lot more nuance in these budget requests than the past time. So it's good news. I'm excited that as we keep doing it, I think we'll keep getting it a little bit more refined. There's a couple other places we saw those operational budget requests vastly outweigh the non-operational requests. We know there's a big operational need. We know a lot of carry forward or budgets have been carried forward since the Great Recession. The budget team teases me about how much we talk about the 2008 recession, and they're like, that's 17 years ago. And I was like, right, but it's still making a huge impact on a lot of our department budgets. So the allocations that were made last year at the health MOE and the OCD housing support were kinds that helped move that needle, but that's just one small bucket of the overall operational need. And then again, remembering these aren't one-time vacuums. So things that aren't recommended or things that we can't figure out how to fund, but we're interested, we still have the opportunity to keep figuring out new ways of approaching. So I don't want it to be like, it can be a very good like living list of like, I really like this idea, how do we get there? And it might just be not doable in the next 2 months in the reaffirmation. And part of that, thank you, Commissioner Scott. The resource management inventory, I was gonna call that out. It's a time that we can look at all the things that we're doing, the things that aren't mandated, things that maybe aren't as impactful or and look at different ways of doing those that might free up resources, et cetera. So there's an ability to shift, especially if we know what we're looking for. And so this is a good look at what are we looking for? What is out there that this organization needs, even if we can't solve it in the next 2 months. And so then next steps. So recommended budget discussions are going to be at the next BOC meeting. It will include and highlight any recommended budget requests. I will add in the current budget, any additional information we have about things that they have already done to try to solve that problem. And then other budget deliberations start November 5th. I believe, Ashley, correct me if I'm wrong, budgets here on working session for the rest of the year. So I'll be answering any questions you all have as we get through and get the reaffirmation done. A big piece, I heard the state was voting on a budget. I don't know if they did or not, but that's a big piece of it, is really what's happening with the state and how we respond to what that might mean for us. And that's it. That's what we have for you.
Great. I'm going to open it up for questions. Colleagues, any questions now at this time? Commissioner Somerville?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank staff for the presentation. Really great visual.
Thank you. Yeah. It's really Rachel and Marie that did a lot and had me being like, it needs to look like this, and then walking out of the room to go to another meeting. So
You guys
did a
killed
lot.
it.
Commissioner Robbie?
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question, because you mentioned the state budget. And I am very concerned about the revenue sharing situation.
Mhm.
Because the plan that was announced, definitely has a major impact on the general fund. I wrote up a little synopsis of, the impact that is definitely going to happen from what we know so far, unless the Senate makes changes, which is still possible. But there is going to be a substantial, at least $1 billion impact on the state's general fund, which is how statutory revenue sharing is funded. So my assumption is that there will be some level of a reduction. But what are we budgeted for now in our 4-year budget? Like, are we budgeted for an increase? Are we budgeted for a flat? Are we budgeted for a decrease? Do you know?
So we normally take what the state has announced and we budget it flat over the 4 years. We don't anticipate increases because we never know how much they are. And I will usually know in advance of the reaffirmation for the next year. So I think right now we're trying to.
Thanks to
respond-
functional government, we don't know.
Yes, we don't know, but again, we have estimates from different sources. So right now we're working off of whatever the best estimate is that we'll have in time to fit into the 15th presentation is the one you all are gonna see. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll probably know more by the end of the week, hopefully, but I don't know.
but it
Annie would
is,
know more than I do.
yes, it is roughly $9 million in the budget currently. On an annual basis.
And that's flat from what we budgeted for last year?
In the 25 through 28 budget, we budgeted about $9 million. And so
year.
that starts as the
Okay.
carry forward assumption unless we know different information.
And that's what we got in the FY25 state budget?
Yes,
Okay.
that's what we have been allocated this year and have received. So-
Okay, got it. I know that there's going to be a definite impact on city, village, and township revenue sharing from the gas tax shell game that they're doing, because they're eliminating the sales tax on gasoline and replacing it with a gas tax. So they're eliminating the constitutional guarantee of that 10% of all sales tax goes to statutory or constitutional revenue sharing. That doesn't impact us directly, but it impacts all of our cities, villages, and townships. And my guess is that they, just like they did with schools, where they backfilled the lost school aid revenue from the general fund, they may try to do that from the general fund as well for cities, villages and townships. It's about $100 million. So that would be, if they do that, on top of the $1 billion hit to the general fund, another $100 million hit to the general fund. And it would probably come at the expense of all the statutory revenue sharing, which we fall under. So I'm anticipating not a good result, but I think if we get 9 million again, that would be a huge win. I would be surprised if we do, though.
Yeah, and we have seen huge increases from both that and marijuana revenue, and we already know the marijuana revenue increase dried up this year. We're expecting that to change. Things are going down.
We're expecting it to go down. Is that, are we, I mean, I guess I'm asking, are we budgeted for it to go down?
That's what we're working through. That's part of why I don't have a balanced budget and part of why I don't have this is how much money we have to throw at this process, is because
Yeah.
we're trying to get at what the right level is from those big pictures that we're used to having well in advance of now.
Yeah, I mean, if they do pass, has the Senate voted yet on their? I mean, the 24% increase is gonna have a massive impact on the sale of cannabis. And because the way that the 10% excise tax works, and we get a chunk of that money, it's gonna decrease sales across the state, meaning it's gonna have, again, an impact on our budget, on the cities that the marijuana establishments are in. And I believe some of the money goes to roads now, or schools, schools and roads, yeah. And some of it initially went to research for veterans, I think, too, but PTSD research. But anyways, the point is, it's basically a massive rob Peter to pay Paul situation. And, I guess we're Peter in this case and we're getting robbed. And the roads are Paul in this case and they're getting money. So it's, and I think there's a lot of arguments that we're hearing that are sort of like, oh, well, locals use the roads and it's more road money for locals. But, especially when it comes to townships and townships in particular, it's not the township getting the money, it's the road commission getting the money. It's not the county getting the money, it's the road commission getting the money. And so it's taking money away from all the things that we're talking about and putting it towards roads, which is taking the decision-making out of our hands and putting it, in the hands of the Lansing lawmakers and lobbyists, so.
Who can be quite slippery. Go to Commissioner Somerville, then I've got a couple questions, then open it up for others.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to the context of the conversation that in my district in September alone, we had 2 recreational cannabis retailers close, which is going to have a huge impact on Ypsi city budget, but also the amount of money that we get back in revenue sharing. And because of the potential increase in sales tax for cannabis, and the market's like very much oversaturated in Michigan, I anticipate we'll see less and less every year. As some of the smaller original retailers that existed in Washtenaw County close because it's too hard of an industry for them to survive. So that will have an impact on us, among other things.
Okay. First, to Catherine, Marie, and Rachel, thank you for the presentation. It was excellent. It was, a wonderful marshaling of data points. My takeaway here is this is a very good process that is run well. But what I don't know, and that I think we need to consider in the future, is I don't necessarily know where the community's input mechanisms are in this process. It seems very focused on sort of organizational viewpoint out. And I wonder how we can try and do that with the understanding also, it is the county's budget process. So there are limits to that. One idea would be just have some level of external engagement. We have subject matter experts. And I think that's great. Do we want to have a community needs group that can provide some input? It's dependent on our 2 officers, which I think is a good use of them, but they're both one individual. And then it's dependent on, I think a trio of subject matter experts where we don't have an officer. But again, they're all sort of internal in a way that that I think is going to produce an internally facing set of budget recommendations. I don't have a solution to that. It's just it's a concern I lift up. Along Commissioner Scott's question, could we get a sense of what is new in any of these requests? Because I think knowing what's asked for in on top of like what was asked for last year is great. But if there's something new in general, that's also good to flag. I'm gonna try and use this as a mechanism to filter out what I'd say no to and what I'd, sort of let through, and I suspect others will do that too. So if there's any way to do that, that'd be fantastic. Catherine, you sort of look like you got
I was gonna
thoughts
say-
there,
Yeah,
sorry.
I want to clarify. So by new, you mean wasn't asked for 2 years ago and was asked for in this process? Is that what new means?
Yeah, yes, or if it's an outlier in terms of either how much or for what purpose. Some of this stuff is going to get asked for all the time. Some of it is generally new, but I suspect a few here and there are going to be the same sorts of asks, but at a bigger level to respond to some sort of external issue or something like that. So just any flags you can provide us would be helpful.
Yeah, I think the ones that have stood out are definitely ones that we're talking through more for the recommended budget for those purposes, or things that we learned about that are bigger needs that we weren't expecting. So I would anticipate that would be part of the presentation in 2 weeks.
Okay.
I think the other part, when you're talking about the community, there is an element of like proof of concept. We have wonky tools, and I have a hard time asking people who aren't here to use those wonky tools. But that is a thing that we had talked about trying to figure out in the future. But one of the reasons why we have that peer review team not review their departments is so that they can act a little bit more like as a community member and not in those areas. But it's an imperfect thing, and I hear you.
Community engagement and community-based budgeting is really hard. And so
Yeah.
none of this is criticism. This is just, thoughts at a working session. And I just want to be clear towards that end too. This is a very acute and useful presentation, and it's quite obvious a lot of thought went into it and the execution was good. So
Yeah, no, definitely on the list of places we'd like to get to, just making sure we're taking baby steps and have good things in place to use.
and I see we have a few other questions. I'll get to Commissioner Sanders, but you said wonky in terms of the use of software. Is that,
So, yeah, I mean, we're relying on the tools that exist. So we have like Microsoft Forms, we have like Excel spreadsheets, SharePoint. A lot of that requires an internal network user ID. So those things of like, we would need time to figure it out. And so we keep trying to make steps that would make it more user friendly to be able to figure out how to push it out to the community more. I know it's been a big conversation at these meetings of how we can engage better on that. So-
sure. And to be fair, it's not like staff don't interact with the community on a regular basis either. It's just
Yeah.
getting that direct input,
Yep.
but okay.
Yeah, definitely on my dream roadmap of budgeting would be figuring that out for sure. So.
Great. Commissioner Sanders, and then Commissioner Scott, your hand up.
A couple of things. So, respectfully, I think that, we all know and see it, often enough in our meetings that the community is quite engaged when they have an opinion or don't like something. We certainly are, their elected choices to speak on their behalf, and they let us know when there's something that they need to say. I guess I would disagree slightly and say, I don't know that this is a process that we should open up to asking the community to weigh in on. There are 9 of us, and it's hard enough to herd us as cats, let alone to try and herd people that are not receiving any sort of funding or support, administrative support. You would be asking them to do this whenever they could fit it in. And I think that this is too important. I also believe that they do not possess the information that we do. And so, but I guess my top concern would be, I wouldn't want this to be a situation where possibly it could be stacked. And we've got, you know, possibly people in the community that don't understand the importance of these budgeting decisions and their impact on the entire community here in Washtenaw County. And, you know, may not make the best decision based on where they're coming from in the community. So I respect Chair LaBar's suggestion. I would just like to voice that I don't think it's a good idea. And we get enough input from them. They let us know. But budgeting is something different, and the running of the county is what they elected us to do, along with the administrative. And so I think that we make enough requests of you, as I'm about to do right now.
Great, get my pen ready.
And that is, so if it's problematic, I can literally ask the staff to kill another tree and print it out for me, and I'll do my own hand measurement. But I would like to know if it's possible for you to take those last couple of slides where you're ranking it by like the Racial Equity Office and the Resiliency Office. If it's possible to just put that in one sort of spreadsheet, so we could see those top priorities and just who was ranking what. Does that make sense? So I see them side by side,
Yeah,
instead of having to print out 4 or 5 pages and line them up.
Yeah. I got nods from the data people over there, so I think we're in a good
I mean,
spot
if
to
it
do
was
that.
problematic, I could manage to
Yeah.
do it.
I mean, if it was problematic, I can print them out for you and,
But that might be helpful for all of us.
yeah, to see them all
Yeah.
highlighted.
Yeah,
Because there
and-
are some that fell onto multiple of those categories, and it's nice to know, oh, this one hit 3 of those lists without a lot. So we can, yeah, definitely get you that.
Okay, and yeah, so that's all I had.
I'd reiterate my point about getting community engagement. I think actually we're going to pass a budget that's going to serve the community as a whole, and appreciate this policy body's role. So I appreciate those comments and would reiterate mine and would look forward to future discussion. Commissioner Scott?
Thank you, Chair. This is what you want, what I just did, actually. I had it laid out for me, just like what you're saying, so I can look at it. I know you don't know how much money, do you wanna like hazard a guess? How much money we're planning to talk about here? Like, I just don't, like, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking about this in the terms of like, I see on here, like clearing snow. That seems non-negotiable. Like, we gotta clear the snow. I see elevator code compliance. That seems sort of important.
That, yes, that one's a big one.
Right, and so I will always elevate the elevator issue. Having once been caught in an elevator between floors with a coding patient, this is an important thing to have. So it, like, when I'm thinking about these things, what's and I'm not, nobody at this table hopefully is gonna hold to that, certainly not me. But what's my like money that I'm dealing with here?
So this is when we go back to, it all goes back to that state budget. Whatever the revenue sharing looks like drastically impacts us in either direction.
How much money did we have last year?
And
9
allocate?
million to
Oh,
extra?
no, we got, no, hold on, I have it.
Not asking about revenue sharing, I'm saying like, what do we have what do we project to have?
We
that
had
we
well
could-
under 1 million last year. I mean, but I don't even, I can look that up and have it when we talk about it, but
I mean,
it's just a world where I honestly wish I could be like, this is the dollar amount we have. to
No,
play with,
I
start
hear what you're
playing, but-
saying, but I'm wanting to try to contextualize this a little. Last year, we had under 1 million. And I'm just looking at, I have 1.8 million for jail, food and medical contract. I don't have that much money in general. And that's one item that exceeds where we were last year.
Yes.
And how do I balance that with the snow and the elevator, not to mention all of the other things on here? Okay, I'm gonna think more about what my question is on that, and you can come back to me.
Commissioner Sanders?
So a piggyback, maybe I wasn't paying attention.
Mhm.
Did we ask in the forms that they submit for their budget requests? Do we ask them, what have they done to mitigate the cost? That's my first thing. Yes, thank you.
We did not ask that question. Well, okay, yes. It
Can
would
we
have been.
ask that question?
There is nothing precluding us from asking that, especially for anything we're looking at recommending, at trying to fund. I think it makes sense what you're saying. So that nothing would stop us from asking that before voting on.
So I think to hide under the shield of, we don't know we don't know the real impact
Yeah.
yet of state and federal
Mhm.
funding. I think hiding up under those two shields, we should go back and ask them
Okay.
to be able to give us some sort of synopsis about that.
Yeah.
It's not going to take them forever to answer that question.
Mhm.
I don't know that it would necessarily delay our process.
Yeah.
Um,
And there is a lot of narrative that is asked, so there is the potential that some of them answered it in that. I just it wasn't a direct question, so I wouldn't want to hold those that didn't do that accountable if we didn't ask, but that we can happily ask that question
So-
and get that information.
Right, we can be
Yeah.
an equal opportunity offender. I will own that they can blame Commissioner Sanders for the request.
Okay.
But there's nothing that says we can't send out another form to them
Yeah.
with just a paragraph that
Oh.
says, we acknowledge you may have already answered this.
Mhm.
But to be fair, we're gonna ask everybody to answer it one more time.
Yeah. Happy.
Succinctly in a
Yes.
paragraph.
Yes, there's a lot about the impact that it's going to make, but yeah, I'm happy to, we can send that out to the requesters and get that data.
Thank you.
Mhm. Specifically, I also want to make sure I have the question right. We want to ask what efforts they have taken to contain or find ways to fund these costs before asking for the budget request. Is that what we're?
So it could be a double. What efforts have they undertaken to try and mitigate the cost? And are there efforts that
Okay.
they can undertake to mitigate?
Okay.
Because if I'm asking somebody for money and I don't have to spend any of mine, I'm gonna ask you for all of it and keep mine.
So our administrator wants to chime in.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioners, we are under no illusion that we have the money to fund any of these requests. And in fact, as we have this conversation concurrently, the administrative team is looking for ways to perhaps deal with a shortfall. So I think the more information that we can gather, the better we are and the better decisions that we make. So I say all that to say we will continue our work around the budget. And until we have better information, i.e. revenue sharing, the state and federal, what's happening at the state and federal level, I don't know that we'll be in a position to say that we can appropriately fund any of these requests. Now, I do understand, as we talked about today, that we need to bring you guys back a recommended budget. But as a component of that, we're going to try to make sure that we take all the information that we currently have, the needs of the community, and the priorities that you all have laid out for us, and bring you back something that we think is most appropriate moving forward. And it needs to be flexible enough for us to respond as we close out the year and move into 2026.
Commissioner Sanders, is that in reference to Commissioner, to Administrator Dill's point? No, what I'm saying is, do you want to respond to that, or are you getting back in the queue? We've got Commissioner Robbie and then Commissioner Scott and then Commissioner Robbie and then Commissioner Sanders. Okay. Let me go to Commissioner Robbie.
Maybe I can ask one of the questions. I do, before I want to ask that question though, I just want to quickly go back to the revenue and marijuana thing because just building off of what Commissioner Somerville said, there have been 3 closures of marijuana businesses in my district 2 this year alone. So there is a serious thing going on already before this tax even passes. And once it passes, I genuinely think that more will close. Misty Mountain closed just 2 blocks down from here. They closed a couple years ago, but we just lost Arbor's Wellness just closed, and then Leaf and Bud just closed as well in Packard. Y'all are giggling down there, but you know what? It is like, here's the thing, like, you know, if folks look, you know, watching from home, if you liked any of these projects, go out and buy some pot because it ultimately helps us out. So, it does, it helps out. Go smoke pot and then we can do some of these cool things. If you smoke more marijuana, we can fix elevators for the county, right? I mean, so, but anyways, it's legal, guys. We can say that. The
Big
sheriff's.
t-shirts.
But no, but seriously, there is, and I think in Commissioner Scott's district, Cookies just closed too.
Yeah.
So that's in the city of Ann Arbor, the mighty, you know, holy grail city of cannabis, 4 dispensaries have already closed. So there is a serious wave going on of business closures, and that is going to have an impact on our budget. So, and I think it will get worse. But speaking of elevators, the question I was going to ask is, and maybe this is a Jason Fee question, some of this stuff, I feel like some of this should be like routine maintenance, shouldn't it? Like, is it not budgeted for routine maintenance? Oh, it's a new code.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay,
Yes.
so we're upgrading elevators to a new code. Okay.
And
That
it
is required.
if we don't upgrade it and meet the code, we will not be able to have an elevator operating in the building that it is in. So it
That this
means,
building?
there's 10, 11. I'm gonna let Jason speak. I'm not gonna estimate.
Oh, go back. No, go back. Oh, come back. No, come back. Oh, no, come back. Oh, no, come back.
Yes, some of the buildings we have upgraded, but some of the buildings we have not, and it is a phased in. It's not all in 1 year. It's over the next 3 years. So I can bring back detailed information, provide by building and where we're at for each one of them.
Just a lot of the things you've brought forward seem like very critical things for us to do, just to keep our buildings operating. But, okay, that was basically my question. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go
Glad you
to,
guys all got a chuckle about cannabis, but it's the thing.
well, you know, I wasn't laughing, but I know Commissioner Machewski smokes a lot of marijuana. So
He's got to set the record straight now.
go to Commissioner Sanders.
I'm willing to defer to Commissioner Machewski because I need to hear this and then I can say my piece.
I'll just say in response to the chair. When the Cookies was getting ready to open, I sincerely thought it was. So my wife and I were like, hey, there's a new cookie shop.
I will fully admit it was humorous because Commissioner Machewski generally isn't sort of a wild, rowdy guy, but I'm sorry for levity.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Sanders.
Oh, that was good. Okay, with this levity, so I'm not normally a gotta have the last word sort of person and Chair has the mic, so he can still trump me, but I thought about one thing that I wanted to add to my opposition to opening this up for the budget up for community comment, and that is that we all know that the voices that we hear in this boardroom are often those people who are able to come and lift their voices. They are not always the people that are most affected by our decisions. And I'm saying that because, you know, to me, this is an equity issue. And we have people that are on the rural side of our state, on the more urban side of our state, that are very much affected by the decisions that we make, but are unable to maybe leave their second or third job and come sit up in here with us for hours and let us know what they think. They may not even have time to send us an email, but what they do is they entrust us to make the decisions for them. So I'm adding that piece on because I am concerned that if we open this up, it's gonna be a stacked situation. It's gonna be those people that are privileged and able and to raise their voices among those that are the most in need and are unable to advocate for themselves. So I think it would put us in a situation where we're not honoring the commitment that we've made to equity by opening up a budget process to a community of people that do not fully understand all of the ramifications that go with it, including bargaining and all of the other things that we have to make decisions on with their taxpaying dollars. All right, so that's my last piece.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanders. Maybe an idea I could point to would be some of the work we did with the initial New Human Services Partnership and some of the input we got from the community. In my mind, modeling something like that would be an idea I'd advocate for, but I don't want to trump anyone with the mic. I appreciate your feedback, and I felt both heard and I think have a clear sense of where you're coming from, and would love to, chat more at a different time and venue. Commissioner Beaman.
Apologies, I'll be brief. One thought that I had, and maybe this is more for next year, next iteration of this process, if we're thinking about the public voice as actually layering on the use of these items, if these are renewals of pieces versus new, because if we looked at the presentation, a lot of it was operational and not new programming. So if we layered on the usage, that would bring in a public perspective without directly bringing in people from the public who may or may not be able to raise their voice. Next year. I don't know how to wade into this.
Commissioner Scott, did that question come to you?
No, the question didn't come to me, but I'm just gonna go back to again, just reiterating this point that we are gonna have a pretty limited pot of money, and that it's going to be important for me going forward, to think about looking at the budgets of places that are asking for more money to understand what they're doing to mitigate that. That's gonna be super important, because some things I can see as optional and things I want us to be able to do, and some things are just not. But I need to be able to understand how all of those things work together. And so I probably will have more questions as we go forward about that, just because this is not a tenable way of continuing to go forward, of just saying, this is what we have and we want extra. We can't keep doing that. And so we have to have departments and offices do some of that hard work of talking about where the cuts are gonna be. Sure, or get revenue if they can raise it. I don't care necessarily, as long as they're not trying to gouge people. That would bother me too, but this is a lot, these are a lot of things that I feel like the county should be doing, and we can't do it. And there needs to be some reckoning.
Any other commissioner questions at this time? Commissioner, okay. Catherine, thank you. We appreciate you and Marie and Rachel and your team, and thank you.
Yes. Thank you. I'll be back.
Okay. I have a few, but any items for current or future discussion? Only thing I would note is some of the asks that we have in for working session for the remaining three are Youth Assessment Center, East Side Rec Center, a shelter/homeless winter kickoff, the employee survey, and then we want to keep open for some of the compensation questions that we discussed at the last. So that is a healthy list. If you have more to add to it, please do. Commissioner Hodge.
Thanks. The Community Priority Fund presentation, which Derek could help with, get coordinated.
CFP.
CFP, yes.
6, okay. So, any other items for current and future discussion? Oh, Catherine, please.
Sorry, I just want to say one thing because there's a wrong data point and I just don't want to leave it. So the community corrections request is like roughly roughly $500,000. Yeah, it was way too big. So we'll get it all corrected in your things, but I just want to also state it here in case anybody's watching the presentation, everything else, we'll get it all updated, but I would like, I
And-
pulled the wrong data field on that one.
And
So
for clarity, that's the one you listed at like
it was
2.1.
$2 million and
Okay.
they're not asking for an annual $2 million. That's not what the request is for.
Okay,
That was the total budget amount, so.
great. Commissioner Sanders.
I wanted to ask Chair Scott if she would be kind enough to give us at least time to run to the restroom, more than 7 minutes.
Yeah, let's take more than 7 minutes. Let's take 15.
Yes.
Doubled.
Then, any other items for current or future discussion? Commissioner Robbie.
Thank you, Chair. This is an important one, I think, for all of us. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, we are adjourned.
I'm gonna call this meeting of the October 1st, 2025 Board of Commissioners meeting to order, despite all the betting on when we will end. The over-under right now is 8 o'clock. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Before we do public participation, I'm gonna ask my friend Shona Teruza to come on up. You can either come, yeah, you can come there. I was gonna say come up to me, but come up there. Shona's just gonna lead us in a moment of silence, and I'll let her say more about that. Go ahead and put your mic on and, yeah.
Was it on now? Yes. And so first of all, I'm going to do an introduction. So with me is Katrina Richards, who's from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. She's part of the A2 stake. So the Interfaith Hospitality Network is a collection of about just over 40 local congregations in Washtenaw County. They actually formed what is Alpha House in 1992. And since then have steadily supported us. They provide meals. They bring us whatever supplies we need. They send volunteers when we have a service project. And over the last couple of months, we've deepened our relationship with the Latter-day Saints because, as you all know, we're expanding at Towsley. And they were one of the first congregations to step in and say, what can we do? What do you need? Can we see the space? And so we've already had a tour with their president, President John Larson. And just to tell you a bit more about what they do, they're going to have a women's conference in November, and they're going to, as part of the conference, come to Towsley and do a day of service, or a morning of service. They're also going to do a benefit concert for Alpha House in the spring. And so these are really good neighbors. And so on Saturday night, they invited me to come and speak at their stake conference. And I was trying to get my LDS terminology right. The stake conference is the group of wards. And so it was like, you said seven of the local wards at a conference. And the theme of the conference was loving your neighbor. And so they said, you can speak for however long you want and tell a former preacher that. And, I was ready to run with it, but I kept it to a decent amount of time. But what struck me was the overwhelming sense of love and support from them. And I discovered that they actually lost their president of their whole denomination, President Russell Nelson, on that very same day, and yet they were so gracious to me. And so we had that night together, and then the very next morning, when I finally got round to checking the news, I found out about the tragedy in Grand Blanc. And President Larson said that they were actually in the middle of worship when they found out what had happened. And so those of you who know me know that I'm a former church lady, and then found my way to Alpha House. Can you imagine coming to a place of worship where you're just there to figure out how to be a better person, love your neighbor, worship the Lord, do all the things that you would normally do with your family and friends on a Sunday, and then have to experience that? And so it was devastating for me, but I cannot even imagine how it is for them. And so I wanted to, as a community, have us stand in solidarity with our neighbors here in the same way that they've showed up for us constantly over the years at Alpha House. And so there's many layers of hurt in this tragedy. I'm just going to name it before we go into the moment of silence, just so we know what we're honoring and what we're recognizing. There were the 5 individuals who lost their lives while they were at church worshiping. There were 8 of them who were injured in that terrible tragedy, who will have to live with this for the rest of their lives. Imagine how horrific it was. And then there were all the people who were in that building as well. They're going to have to live with that for the rest of their lives. Then you think about all the other Latter-day Saints congregations who are now trying to process, what does this mean? How do we move forward? Then you have the Grand Blanc area where they're trying to figure out what this means for them. And then us here in Washtenaw County, these are our neighbors. It's many different layers of tragedy. But what has been amazing to me when I reached out to them is just how graceful and compassionate they've been. in the midst of all their grief and trauma. On Monday morning, they said to me, you know, those fridges you want for your rooms, the 30 rooms, when can we get them to you? This is on Monday. Well, I'm worrying about them. They're still worrying about me. So I said, we've got to show up for our neighbors. And so I'd like to have us all join our hearts in pouring out love to our Latter-day Saints neighbors in a moment of silence, not only for those who lost their lives, but their loved ones and just us as a human race. You know, this is a difficult time. Let's hold our LDS neighbors and all of us in the light of love. So will you join me for a moment of silence? May those who lost their lives, may their souls rest in eternal peace, surrounded by infinite love. And may those who have been left behind feel surrounded by the love of their community at this very difficult time.
I just want to take a brief moment to thank all of you on behalf of the local members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints here in the Ann Arbor area. We've been overwhelmed by the outreach of love, prayers, faith, and support, and it means so much. Your friendship and strengthened connections really shine through. We see the love of God, the love of our Savior, Jesus Christ, through all of you. And that means so much, especially in these dark times. So thank you all. Thank you, Shona.
You're very welcome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Shona. Okay, the next item on the agenda is public participation. At this time, any member of the public is welcome to come and give comment to the board. Oh, what? Oh, I do have a resolution I want to do. Hold, please. I was so lost in the moment that I forgot, thankfully. Oh, gosh, we need to do roll call. I am way off. Let's start with roll call. Then I'm gonna do a resolution, a presentation of a resolution, and then we'll do public participation. Just kidding. We're like not trying to tell you to come up yet. We'll actually start the meeting with roll call. Brendan.
Commissioner Beaman,
Present.
Commissioner Hodge.
Here.
Commissioner Labar. Here. Commissioner Light.
Present.
Commissioner Machewski.
Here.
Commissioner Robbie. Commissioner Sanders.
Present.
Commissioner Scott.
Here.
Commissioner Somerville.
Here.
Great. Okay. Now, Commissioner Hodge, would you like to present the resolution we have prepared for tonight for it is a resolution for family, am I got this right? Family Court Awareness Month. Yes.
It is Family Court Awareness Month. And we're doing this early because it's not until November. Come on up.
We're prepared.
We're prepared. It's a big one. All right, well, thanks I think you emailed me a couple of times, and I think I even emailed you back today.
Yes, you did.
So glad that you were here and that it was already on the agenda. So I'm gonna go ahead and read it and then feel free to say some words after that. All right, so whereas the mission of Family Court Awareness Month is to highlight the critical need to prioritize child safety in family court proceedings, as 1 in 3 families in Michigan experience domestic abuse, and whereas an estimated 58,000 children in the United States are court-ordered into unsupervised contact with an abusive parent each year, and nearly 1,000 children have been murdered by a parent during visitation since 2008, and whereas in Michigan, 39 children have been murdered by a parent since 2008 amid divorce or custody disputes, including 6-year-old Rowan Maury Polis of Caledonia in 2024, and 3-year-old Dylan, Kent County in 2021. And whereas the children of Rowan and Dylan have worked tirelessly to raise awareness of the families of Rowan and Dylan have worked tirelessly to raise awareness about child safety In family court, honor their children's legacies, promote Family Court Awareness Month, and advocate for legislation to better protect children in Michigan, including initiatives to improve the response to missing children and domestic violence in Kent County. And whereas Rowan's Act introduced in the Michigan House of Representatives by Representative Angela Regas, who represents portions of Allegan, Kent, and Berry counties, aims to expedite the insurance of Amber Alerts when law enforcement believes a missing child is in danger. And whereas in response to 6 domestic violence-related homicides within 3 months in 2021, Kent County recognized the urgent need for a specialized domestic violence court. This court is staffed by professionals with expertise in domestic violence, ensuring victim-centered support, accountability for offenders, and prevention of further harm. And whereas Washtenaw County continues to seek improvements in safety and outcomes for families impacted by domestic violence by implementing lethality assessments in all domestic violence cases to guide law enforcement response and intervention. And whereas the mission of Family Court Awareness Month includes promoting comprehensive training for all professionals involved in family court, including judges, attorneys, guardians ad litem, evaluators, and others on domestic violence, child abuse, childhood trauma, coercive control, and post-separation abuse. And whereas Family Court Awareness Month recognizes the need for courts to incorporate evidence-based research, such as the Adverse Childhood Experiences, ACEs, study, which highlights the long-term impacts of childhood abuse and underscores the importance of informed, impartial, and research-guided decision-making to protect children's well-being. And whereas Family Court Awareness Month encourages collaboration among legislators, advocates, professionals, and community members to reform family court practices so they prioritize the safety, health, and best interests of children. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners hereby declares November 2025 as Family Court Awareness Month in Washtenaw County. We encourage all residents to support efforts in their communities to protect children from harm, promote safe family court practices, and honor the lives and legacies of children affected by domestic violence. Thank you so much for being here, and if there's anything you'd like to say.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Geraldine, and I'm a member of Protective Parents Michigan. I would like to thank Washtenaw County for acknowledging that child safety should be the priority in family court and custody decisions. 1 in 3 Michigan families are directly impacted by domestic violence, but abuse also affects each one of us and our communities. Without proper training for family courts on domestic violence, children continue to be exposed to abuse and families need more social support, putting an extra strain on local services like shelters, counseling, and child protective services. Post-separation abuse in family court puts the children in harm's way because abusive parents are more likely to seek sole custody and are successful 70% of the time. Tragically, abuse is often not understood or believed by the courts, and many children are ordered into unsupervised contact with abusive parents. I want to share some statistics so you can see why family court reform is needed. 60% of perpetrators who abuse their spouse will abuse their child. Adverse childhood experiences, such as abuse, negatively impact a child's development, their relationships, and their mental and physical health. Most child abuse is perpetrated in the family by a parent. And children are 3 times as likely to be shot at home than in a mass school shooting. And 1 child dies every 6 days amid custody fights and family court cases. Since 2008, 39 Michigan children have been murdered during divorce or custody battles. One of these children was Rowan Maury Poles of Caledonia, Michigan, who was not returned to his mother at the end of the father's parenting time and was later found to be a victim of murder-suicide. Rowan's mom had been unable to have an Amber Alert issued despite appealing to police and the family court judge. A new law that has passed the Michigan House and is being considered by the Senate is Rowan's Act. This would allow state police to issue an Amber Alert more quickly when a child is considered to be in danger. We are also trying to establish Caden's Law in Michigan to prevent future tragedies. Caden's Law is focused on prioritizing child protection over parents' rights. This law was named for Caden Mancuso, a 7-year-old girl murdered by her father during court-ordered unsupervised parenting time after the court ignored the father's history of abuse. Caden's Law would require training for judges on all types of abuse, including psychological abuse, financial abuse, and coercive control. and judges would need to consider past history of domestic violence when making custody decisions. Our children's lives are literally dependent on the courts becoming educated on these issues. Thank you for proclaiming November as Family Court Awareness Month in Washtenaw County. If anyone would like to support Caden's Law, please contact your state representative and the Family and Veterans Committee members in the Michigan House of Representatives. To support Rowan's Act, please contact your state senator. And if you or someone you know is struggling to protect their children in family court, please connect with Protective Parents Michigan Support Group on Facebook and the rowanproject.org website. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, now, I'm not kidding, it really is time for public participation. And so if you'd like to make comment to the Board of Commissioners, you can come up to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes to address the board. There's a series of lights that will let you know your time. Green means go, yellow means start to wrap it up, and red means your time is up. I will interrupt you when you get to your time, just in order to try to keep things fair and equitable for everybody as we have public comment. Anybody would like to make public comment, please come forward. Thank you.
Yes, my name is, okay,
Yeah, name and township where you're from.
Bill Ray. I'm from Manchester Township. I've been trying to get help with a blight situation for 2 years. The township will do nothing. I want somebody to make them do their job. There's upwards of 20 cars at a time junk. And I'm positive he's running a chop shop. And there's kids involved too. That touches me right. Excuse me. There's kids involved too. Just the other day, he was screaming at him. I could hear him a block away that he was going to kill him. And the year before, they come down and get food from us all the time. So it's not only the cars. The girls came down and they weren't in school. I said, how come they come down to get something to eat? And I said, how come you kids aren't in school? And they said, well, we were out all night last night with our dad picking up a motorcycle in the middle of the night. And that happens more than once. It's happened where they don't go to school and stuff like that. So, I mean, there is kids involved in this too. And I wish the township, I've got a connection with the state police where I could call them. I used to babysit a guy, and he was with the state police with the investigation of stolen vehicles. But I'm trying to get him to get that cleaned up so that I don't want him to get the kids taken away from him. And because they're very good kids, very good kids. There's 2 girls and there's a little boy, and they come down. They came down today before we left and brought us a flower. And they were wanting honey. We're beekeepers, and they wanted honey. So I went in and got them some candy and some honey sticks. But I wish I could get some help from somebody. This has been going on for 2 years with the township, and they will do nothing. They're getting paid to do nothing. Matter of fact, I went in to pay my taxes the other day, and I got jumped on by one of the ladies in the council saying I'm using because I'm a veteran. I use my veterans thing when I go up in front of the board there to try to get them to do something. I'm using my veterans. No, I'm not using my veterans. I'm a veteran. I earned that. I was in wartime. I earned it. But she kicked me out of the office, so I just turned and left. I didn't say anything. Okay, I'm sorry. But yes, I feel or
Thank you. Anyone else in the room for public comment? Micah.
Start again.
Yeah.
Okay, Christine Mikesell, Freedom Township. Tonight, I'm speaking on behalf of Freedom Township Preservation and the Pleasant Lake Property Owners Association, local organizations who have come together to try and find a path that would prevent an anaerobic biodigester from being built in the township. It would be built under a recent state law that strips away township control over the facility, which would be owned by Vanguard Renewables, a subsidy of BlackRock. So we completely understand how our sister townships feel as though they are under attack by massive multinational corporate interests. We are all under attack by those interests. They want to use up our natural resources while lining their own pockets, all the while claiming how great it's going to be for us once they move in and make huge changes to the things that we love most about our communities. There are significant human costs that come with the development of data centers, gravel mines, anaerobic biodigesters, and all the rest. But given how Michigan law is written, there is very little that can be done by local governments or the county. So these human costs will be incurred in most cases. In most cases, but not all. Once in a while, unique circumstances lead to a legal path that ultimately shackles development of a project, and those human costs aren't incurred. We have spent the past several months evaluating numerous provisions in the state law that requires the county to create a materials management plan and also provides the county with some siting authority for anaerobic biodigesters. We've been assessing the ways these provisions fit with unique conditions in our township that create a path to prevent development of a biodigester there. We propose that the county include in its plan a provision that would exempt Freedom Township from having to site a biodigester given its unique conditions. However, time constraints prevent me from elaborating on the legal underpinnings of this proposal, but they do exist. We are meeting with various county organizations and seeking support to have our proposal included in the county's material management plan. The plan is being developed now, and once completed, this board will vote to accept or reject it. In closing, we know facilities like data centers, digesters, and so on are needed because of how our society operates. But not every community is a suitable location for the siting of such facilities, and that is the recognition we seek. Thank you for your opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you. Anyone else for public? Yeah, come on up. Don't be afeared. Hi.
Is there a button I'm supposed to press?
No, it's blue, so you're good to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Christy Cooper. I'm from the city of Ypsilanti. And I'm here representing the Board of Trustees for the Ypsilanti District Library. And I just wanted to draw attention to our resolution that is added to your packet. Basically, it's 2 pages long, so I won't read the whole thing, but basically, we voted to support and further endorse the city of Ypsilanti's resolution number 2025-007, a resolution requesting Washtenaw County allocate funds toward the establishment and operation of a permanent shelter in Ypsilanti for individuals experiencing homelessness, which requests the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners allocate funding for the establishment and operation of a permanent shelter in the city of Ypsilanti for individuals experiencing homelessness and across the county, whether that is in the location listed on the city's resolution or another address such as 211 East Michigan Avenue. And I just wanted to say, like, there are not a lot of places for homeless people to exist in the world safely. and the library is where they can go, where they don't have to pay any money. And this has become like the epicenter of where homeless people hang out, not just in Ypsilanti, but in any municipality. And we've seen a significant uptick in patrons experiencing homelessness. And although the library can provide support resources for these patrons through our social worker on staff, they have nowhere to go after the library closes. And we see that this is going to be like the location where the most people are going to be the best served by building a permanent homeless shelter. And I'm happy if anyone has any questions about the library's decision to get involved in this, to reach out to me and talk about it further. So thank you. Oh, I didn't get yellow.
Thank you.
Good evening, Jeremy Haley, Ypsi Township. I recently went to the Saline Township special meeting on the data center. My question to the DTE representative is how much total supply they can supply to the whole southeast of Michigan. He said 10,000 megawatts. A lot of people, that sounds like a big number. And when I asked, they said the plant that's coming in is going to use 1,100 megawatts. So a lot of people, that sounds like a little number. If you can convert the units over to gigawatts, that's 10 gigawatts they can provide. That plant itself is going to use 1.1 gigawatts out of that 10. It is going to be using 11% of our total electricity provided to Southeast Michigan. And on the news coming over here today, they're having that nuclear conference here in Ann Arbor, and the representative already said it would be unaffordable for the company for itself to build another nuclear power plant to provide more energy, which means the people are going to have to pay for it, which means the cost for electricity is going to go up. They are telling you the truth, but nobody wants to listen, okay? It's kind of like the one project city in Ann Arbor approved near Eisenhower and State there for the new construction there, South Ann Arbor Street or State Street. They approved $140 million bond to build 3 parking structures for that project. Because when the builder tried to throw those 3 parking structures in there, they made it unaffordable to get the financing. Hence, that got put on to the people. I'm tired of the people paying for private developments, especially the one that's going in North Ann Arbor. We have to stop this. And it's a racket, and they keep doing it, and we keep letting them. With the other data centers that's proposed to come in, it's going to put a strain on our electricity, and they know it. And it's going to cost us, and it will bring brownouts and heavier times when all this is said and done. I don't know what else to say about it, but we have to stop what's happening, giving public money to private developments. Hence, for the public benefit, that's a bunch of bull, and we all know it. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room for public comment? Ashley, anyone online for public comment?
There's no one online, Chair.
Okay. Commissioner follow-up to public comment, Commissioner Somerville?
Thanks. I'm just going to respond to the one that we got from the trustee from Ypsi Library. I communicated with a staff person a couple weeks ago, and I'll just share what I shared with them and some of the actions that have taken since the email that we got. So the Shelter Association right now is working with a group of stakeholders and their board to identify a location for an additional adult shelter in Washtenaw County that will be in the Ypsilanti area, whether it'll be in the city or in the township, is kind of up to where they identify a location. And we have had the PATH team that's like part of their regular route to do outreach at the library. And so they've been out there quite frequently recently and are working with individuals to identify who is meeting the definition of homeless and who needs other resources. So I don't have any of the numbers in front of me right now, but I have been talking with the PATH team regularly about making sure they're doing increased outreach, both like early in the morning, before even the libraries open, times when people would typically congregate in spaces like that. Just so we know, part of what their job is to identify where people are camping and so that when we have disaster events, they know how to find people and get them safe. So they're doing outreach. I will follow up with an email on some of the data that they've gotten over the last few weeks. But I do want to just kind of uplift similarly to what we're doing with Alpha House. They identified additional location for family shelter, and we've been a great partner, and I'm excited about that partnership. Right now, Shelter Association is looking for a location in Ypsilanti. And while I can't speak for the full board, I'm certainly eager to help support whatever path they take. But I will say, even though it's an unpopular reaction, if you saw some of the presentation we got prior to our regular meeting tonight, we do not have capacity to fully stand up a second shelter on our own. So that's why we're working with the Shelter Association. We were really lucky with Alpha House for the second location that we got a state earmark to help with the upfront capital costs, but just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Somerville. Commissioner Robbie?
I just wanted to build off of the comment that was made about public dollars subsidizing private developments. 100% agree with that. Thank you for bringing that up and for saying that. That's been something that I've been fighting, a line that I've been fighting on for a long time. And I do believe that, government has no business subsidizing the, private development. People want to make money. They can go make money. They don't need the public dollar to do that. Public dollars should be spent on public goods like roads, like schools, like parks, and like homeless shelters. But certainly not for private development. So I could not agree more. Appreciate you saying what you did. And I think we need to look at that for every project that's presented to us and every vote that we take. That's absolutely critical because it impacts the conversation that we just had about the budget. Every time we give a subsidy, every time we give a tax break, every time we give a tax credit, it is impacting our budget. We're giving away public money that we could be spending on these types of programs, and we would have even more capacity to do good work, like build another shelter in our community.
Thank you. I've got Hodge and then Beeman.
Thank you, Chair. Good to see you, Jeremy. Thanks for coming out again. I'm glad to see that you're still doing well and to keep on keeping on. I know that was a terrible accident before. Thanks for your ongoing advocacy and engagement around the data centers. I know you typically stay for the whole meeting, but I just wanted to point out we do have a data center presentation during the meeting, so I hope you do stick around to watch that. And I'll probably talk to you after the meeting. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Beeman?
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank everyone who came to speak tonight. Bill, we will connect. That's absolutely, it's unacceptable, and no one should have to fight just to be heard, especially not someone who's served our country. I come from a military family and I have great respect for what you've done, and that should never be downplayed in any way, let alone by an elected official. So I'm very disappointed to hear that that's happening. So I will connect. Apologies that a couple things in the air right now. Thank you also for Christine for bringing up the Freedom Township and the biodigester. I appreciate you bringing that forward to the board. Just so there's public clarification, the reason for the concern specifically in Freedom Township is the Freedom Compressor Station, where over 6 major pipelines cross, including Rover, which is over 40 inches in diameter. So adding additional pressures may not be the ideal location to add additional things that could explode. So just again, thank you, everyone. I want to thank Jeremy. He was at the Slane Township meeting with me for the data center. And they're having a meeting this evening on that, where they'll be meeting with their attorneys to figure out the process going forward. And I look forward to our information we'll be hearing.
Thank you. Any other commissioner follow-up to public participation? I got you. I just want to make sure everybody who wants to go first before we have a second round. Go ahead. Commissioner Hodges.
Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to also mention, because Chris and I met a few times, and absolutely appreciate you for coming out today. And I want to lend my voice of support to all our rural commissioners that are facing this threat that Chris outlined during her public comment about, the gravel mines, the data centers, the biodigester, the pipelines, et cetera, that are hitting our community. We have to consider, even from the most urban district, that is, all of these things are interconnected. And as Jeremy said, it's impacting our electricity rates everywhere. And it impacts all of us. In the end, it impacts our air, it impacts our water, it impacts our quality of life. And so certainly want to lend my support to my rural colleagues who have to face this all the time. And just know that I am with you and want to help fight in whatever way I can against what I see as an onslaught of these businesses that are seeking to profit off of our environment.
Thank you. Commissioner Somerville, are you just clapping? Okay. Thank you. Any other commissioner follow-up to public participation? Yeah, it's a Gen Z thing. I'm over here Gen X, so I don't care. I could give you the Gen X signal, but that's the Gen X thing to say they don't care. And our signal might have something to do with a middle finger. Anyway, it's Gen X. It's Gen X. What can I tell you? I want to just say, address, I'm glad that Commissioner Beaman is going to work with Bill, who came to us to talk about what was happening in Manchester. Bill, I'm glad that your neighbors' children have you and your family there to come to also. So I just struck me when you were talking that that's a blessing and you're a blessing to them. And so thank you for having that concern and coming all this way to talk about that to us also. I think other commissioners addressed things that I would say, and I'm happy that these things have come to our attention. I'm glad, Jeremy, you're here and it looks like you're feeling a little bit better, I hope. It's the nurse in me, because I really do actually care. And then I just want to say, I know that Shona's gone, but I would like to say that I'm thankful that she came to have that moment for us and recognize, though, that like this violence and gun violence in the world, in churches and in schools, it felt centering to have Shona here. I will tell you that I don't know if this is real or not, but I read this week that when that happened, that the adults in the room didn't know what to do when the shooting started happening, but all the kids did. That's so tragic. And I don't know what we do about it necessarily, but I think we have to keep thinking about it. And in my opinion, it's not necessarily that there's too many guns in the world, although that might be true also. In my opinion, it's that we dehumanize other people so much. We forget about the humanity and that every person in a space is a child that somebody's mother loved. And if somebody's mother didn't love them, that's even more tragic. But to see that humanity in people is important for us to go forward. Next item on the agenda, liaison reports. Any liaison reports? Commissioner LeBar.
Thanks, Chair. Had a CMH Executive Committee, nothing major there, but obviously some of the issues we've talked about in terms of what DHS is doing remain forefront and more to be determined in terms of the procurement change. COC, Renee Smith stepped down as one of the co-chairs along with John Heifja. I've come aboard at the vote of the committee to be the other co-chair now with John Heifja. And so looking forward to that. That's a lot of logistical work, but I'm glad to be in that role on that body. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other liaison reports? Commissioner Hodge?
Hey.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you, Chair. I just have one for today. It's from Board of Health, and you'll find it interesting too. So we had several presentations at the last Board of Health meeting, all of which I thought were very interesting. The first one was about their strategic plan, and the strategic plan will be available online to read for those of you that really like to read department strategic plans, but it's thoroughly done. I know you like it. It's got, good goals and objectives. It's great. It was a great strategic plan. Another thing that was talked about was public health workforce interest and needs survey. And public health likes those acronyms. This one is PH WINS. That's the name of the acronym. And it is a survey that they did with public health departments across the country, including ours. And for the most part, the scores for our public health among the staff were very strong. People were generally very happy with their jobs. They're happy with the training that is available to them. And they're happy with their ability to do the kind of work that they want to do. A couple of areas of improvement for us are around compensation, of course, the ability for upward mobility within the health department. The challenge for us with that is that we just have a lot of people that like their job and are not retiring, so there's not more opportunities for people to go up because people aren't retiring. So the compensation piece, and then this was common across public health departments across the country, but there were a lot of people feeling like they're working more outside of their normal work hours. And there are a few reasons for that. I mean, some people end up having a component of their job that is supposed to be done outside of normal work hours. So we're going to be looking more into the data to see if we can parse that out, because the people that do have like every once a month you have to do this thing on Saturday, they would have checked, yes, I have to do work outside my normal work hours, but that's expected. So, but the data was really interesting. And there's a whole presentation. We can get that. I think health department can get that to the board. Then we had a less cheery presentation about what's going on with the federal government around vaccines. It was a long conversation about the changes that have been made around the vaccine panel that makes those recommendations. The positive thing that we'll say from it, though, is that the presentation went over all of the different things that RFK's handpicked team voted on at the last meeting about vaccines. It didn't go as far as I think a lot of people were concerned that it would have, as far as it would have gone. So we're in a space now where if you do want to get the COVID vaccine, you can get it and insurance will cover it. So I'm gonna say it again because people got to understand that you can get the vaccine and insurance will cover it, and we will have it at the health department very soon. I think possibly as early as next week. Before that meeting, I think a lot of pharmacies were being cautious about what they were going to do. I attempted to get it at a few places. I ended up getting it at the Kroger on Whitaker Road, but they requested that I get a prescription for my doctor to do it. And so that's, a hurdle I went through to do it, but that's a challenge for a lot of people. That's not going to be a requirement. So if people end up hearing that from their provider, that's not accurate information. So you can get it and insurance will cover it. That's the mantra that we need to repeat about if you would like to get vaccinated. There are some other things that are going to be a bit different about it, but nothing I think that I want to talk about. I don't think it's worth talking about. There's just like some additional administrative hurdles that the providers are going to be going through to make sure that people can get vaccinated. And that's, we passed a couple of resolutions that we will likely take a look at and potentially pass here. The Board of Health passed one recognizing WIC breastfeeding recognition resolution. So we won an award on that, or the health department did. So we will be looking at that here soon, hopefully the next meeting. And then the Board of Health passed a resolution reaffirming its commitment to health equity. And I'm hopeful that we will pass that here too. So that's what I got this time.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
other liaison reports? Commissioner Labar with another one.
Chair, I'm so sorry. I just forgot. Thank you to the Public Health Department. They held a virtual session on radon last night. We're having an issue in my district and just wanted to thank the staff for their time.
Thank you. Any other liaison reports? Okay, I see none. Next item on the agenda is report from the county administrator.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Commissioners, those of you in the audience. I have two updates this evening. First, I'm joined by our resiliency officer, Beth Gibbons. She's going to give us an update on the impact of data centers in our community.
Uh-oh.
I got it.
Now my mic is on too. All right. So I'm hopeful that this presentation is going to be at least a one of two, because what I'd really love to hear at the end of the 5 minutes, I'm going to try to limit it to, is a little bit of feedback on what would be the most helpful information from the commissioners as we continue navigating these decisions. So I'm coming into this, giving you an update on data centers, not having a great perspective on the baseline for everyone, but hoping that after this, we can really proceed together, really with the sound, like kind of the same baseline information. So where are we coming in from? Data centers, the rapidly growing sector. We see this as a land use that's expanding throughout the country, but also here in Michigan. And of course, we see the expansion of data centers really driven by increases in our cloud computing, but also in AI. So we think about data centers expanding significantly because of AI, but in fact, you can really look back to basically like the COVID, time. And once we started wanting to have everything on Teams and everything on Zoom and meetings, like you can be away, but it be in person, feel in person. That's driving our data demand. Data centers may use different language, but they share a common purpose of being high power computing and data storage. And then we see these really coming in a few different flavors. So languages that you might hear out there are enterprise or corporate data centers. These are built by and occupied by the same entity. So built by Microsoft, occupied by Microsoft. We have a co-location centers. These are usually built by a developer. Those are the two cases that we'll talk about in Augusta Township and Saline. These are being built, and then they're seeking tenants to come and occupy them. Within that, we have a couple of subcategories, things that are wholesale and telecom. Telecom helps us take phone to internet. Wholesale is where the entire space goes to one user. Then we get to our hyperscale data centers. And this is where we're really talking about the big three: Amazon, Google, Meta, and they're often having somebody else build them, and then they're coming in and occupying them wholly. And when we say hyperscale, it emphasizes the ability to scale resources up and down quickly to efficiently meet demand, because they're really serving a population that's around the world and has a lot of different needs. So they need to be able to go up and down. There's a disclaimer on the slide, which you can read for yourself. I have some opinions about data centers that are driven from my position as the resiliency officer for Washtenaw County, but I'm not a data center expert. So I'm becoming your resident data center expert, but this is also a really rapidly evolving technology. And like most technologies, getting information about data centers is challenging because there's a lot of work that happens in the blind, because this is considered restricted information because of the new tech. There's no way around it. Data centers have a massive impact on our environment. On average, a single data center can consume up to 2 megawatt hours of electricity, consumption of roughly a small town. Data centers are currently consuming 4% of the US electricity. That's estimated to rise up to 12% by 2028. That's equivalent to the entirety of residential housing in the United States. This is really pushing all of our energy use up, where we're expecting to see a 25% increase in electricity by 2030, and maybe up to 80% by 2050 as compared to 2023. In terms of water usage, water use is also extreme. And what is really challenging is less than 30% of the data centers that we're seeing in the US right now are actually disclosing what their water usage rate is. And so this is where it's really difficult to kind of get into this information. All the different types of cooling systems require huge quantities of water. So you have these different varieties: air cooler, water cooled, or evaporative cooling systems. Essentially, you're getting into trade-offs between whether is it using more energy or is it using more water, but one way or another, as we said earlier, robbing Peter to pay Paul, like you're either going to use more water or you're going to use more energy in either of these systems. I'm going to say there's benefits to data centers. We want them for our healthcare, our banking, our virtual participation. They're an enabling infrastructure, and like a lot of infrastructure, we'd rather not see them and rather not have them, but they are part of our infrastructure landscape for the way that we live today. At a micro scale, the availability of data centers can improve local business operational efficiency, and they may allow businesses to operate more efficiently and more quickly. Tech companies are going to be drawn to data centers, and so they do present an actual business opportunity. Here in Michigan, we don't have a sales tax benefit because we have a state law passed in 2024 that eliminated the sales tax opportunity. So that is not a benefit that we're going to reap here. But there can be property and school tax benefits. And then there's potential for data centers to assist in the expansion of public services, water and sewer. And then there can be what I'm saying as extracted community benefits through well-developed community benefit agreement processes. These aren't easy to do, but they are achievable. And we certainly know that some of the big data center developers have been known to really want to show themselves as being good neighbors. As we know, we have 3 publicly visible data centers here in Washtenaw County right now: Augusta Township, Saline Township, and Ypsi Township. There's an estimated 7 others that are under development or under negotiation. There are more data centers under negotiation than there will be developed. There is a common practice that the data centers will go in and try to see where they can develop in multiple places with no intention of developing all of them. But there are some things that data centers are attracted to: energy capacity, water capacity, transmission capacity, and development-ready sites that can look like agricultural land that is flat and clear, or industrial spaces that are flat and clear, infill centers. The map up here is a map of the transmission lines in Washtenaw County. So if we want to start being prepared for where data centers are likely to turn up, they're likely to turn up on the transmission lines, because we have a energy utility and a water utility that are saying out in the public that they have capacity to receive a data center onto their system. DTE and GWLA are both making that claim. What we know about these broken down by developer and by the type of data center that we just went through. So 2 location centers, and I'd call it Enterprise Center in Ypsi Township. The University of Michigan Center is now calling itself a high performance computer center. It quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck. It's a duck. So project status is we've seen zoning code amended in Augusta Township, but now a petition to have that amendment go on a ballot in 2026. In Saline Township, the board voted against the rezoning, and the landowner and the developer are now suing the township. And in Ypsi Township, there's an investigating a move to the AMC site, but that final decision is pending, and it's generally skeptical about the idea that UM would move that site to their alternative. What's our role here? Washtenaw County decisions are made by the cities, townships, and villages. So the best role that we can play is to provide useful information that can help townships, villages, and cities to make the best possible decisions with their land use rules. State policy and the water and energy utilities have a significant impact, and their impact right now is significantly attracting data centers to Michigan and attracting data centers to our region. In our county, we have a number of offices that could have an intercept with data centers, but the regulatory authority is not currently in place, but there is a place where we're able to see what data centers are up to through our building inspections, OCED, environmental health, our health department, and then our racial equity office and resiliency office have key interests in the development of these spaces. So by the end of next week, I'm planning to have for you and for the public an easy 1-pager on data centers and the status of them, a white paper on where we are with the county, and a web page that we'll be maintaining that'll be allowed to be updated and be able to keep the public really up to date on new projects as they're coming online and what the status of them are. And at the request of the resolution passed last week, I'm working with the University of Michigan in their Empowering Communities Center with a student to develop a municipal planning toolkit, which will be modeled after the kinds of toolkits that they have for their renewable energy and battery storage zoning and ordinances that'll start to provide municipalities with the kinds of knowledge and resources that they need in order to set up zoning codes or ordinances that will prepare them to receive data centers so that when data centers show up, they have the law on the books that they need to have in order to manage them. We expect to have that ready November 1st. It's hard because these are changing, and anything that gets put out now is going to be tested. So I think there's going to be a lot of learning and repeating as we go, as we encounter this new land use. Sorry, I'm not sure how far over I was.
I didn't track you. Commissioners, do you have any questions or? Commissioner Robbie?
It's not a question. I just want to thank you for providing us. I mean, we passed a resolution last meeting. We already have a presentation with like deliverables and dates and stuff like that, which is awesome. That's
Thanks.
what we should always be expecting, and you're delivering on it. So thank you.
Thanks.
Commissioner Sanders?
I guess I'm gonna ditto what, Commissioner Robbie said. Thank you very much, for this quick, as thorough as time would provide presentation. I guess I just wonder why we couldn't have the same, speed and, information from the people that, I'm gonna say our folks in Lansing. I've been asking for more information and just, it's not forthcoming. And I don't know what the big secret is. I mean, tell us, just tell us. So, but I want to thank you because this is very informative for me. And I appreciate you doing it for all of our residents that are within earshot of this meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Hodge.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Oh, sorry, it's not over yet. We're
No.
almost done. Thank you for the presentation. I know we've exchanged emails about the data centers and, I went on the data center trip and learning all kinds of stuff about data centers. Are you able to speak a little bit more about the difference between the U of M one and any of the other ones? I know that they are using that new term they would all like us to use with their messaging. From what I think I'm getting from their messaging, they want us to think about it differently because it is a giant supercomputer that's not going to be used for commercial purposes, but it's still functionally, it's like a data center, right?
That's it. Yeah, there's not a functional difference in the way that it's going to consume energy and water versus what you would see from a commercial use. The argument that this is a public good doesn't change the way that it is being used. I think the most recent information, what I found interesting is there have been some promises from University of Michigan that renewable energy would be used for the power in UM's portion of the data center, but that is a fraction of the size of the center and a fraction of the energy that's going to be consumed. The vast majority of the energy consumption is coming from the lab side, which is not making any promises about where energy will come from for that.
Because for the U of M side of it, the size of that one is quite a bit smaller than a commercial data center, right? I think from what I understand, about a tenth of the size.
That's, well, I don't know. Data centers come in different sizes, I would say, but in the center itself, the UM portion of it is a small component compared to the lab side.
Okay. And so looking forward to the deliverables that you outlined, what are you hoping to be able to do with your office as it relates to data centers, since there's going to be more and more of those over time here?
Yeah, I mean, what I would really like is for municipalities to have a strong sense of how they could be regulating the data centers. And I'll be honest, like a couple data centers in Washtenaw County there's no way we're getting to be carbon neutral by 2035. It's just a non-starter. There's not an ability for a data center to put enough renewable energy on its site to actually generate renewable energy. So the bring your own energy model is really, it's a nuclear energy ask basically, which takes, of course, a very long time to build. So I would like municipalities to be well informed. And then I will say the other thing I'm really interested in my office focusing on is actually divorcing some of the land use conversations that are happening. Because there's a conversation around data centers, there's a conversation around renewable energy and land use, and they have dramatically different impacts on the health and well-being of the community and on our goals as a county. And so having the opportunity to hear how these topics are conflated and trying to take them apart is something that I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to do.
Is there anything in particular you would want us to be thinking about or doing? Since, I mean, we don't have the ability to regulate it ourselves. But...
As a county or as commissioners?
The county and the board.
Yeah. Well, I'll be meeting with the environmental health department and talking about where there could be regulation around water discharge, what could fit into that office space. And I think for commissioners, yeah, keeping the data center conversations and other land use conversations separated from one another. There's just not the same level of economic, social, or environmental impact from renewable energy as there are from data centers. So finding ways to keep those conversations apart is critical. And I think that there are data center advocates who very much want to bring them together and have them be a conversation that not only pits them against one another, but actually really puts data centers as a higher, better use of land than a renewable energy project.
Thank you. This is probably the thing I'm hearing the most from constituents about is because, you know, 2 of the data centers are in my district. So it's
Yeah.
a lot of people,
Yeah, I
spoke
am
about it.
grateful to have been tasked with this because I was going to do it anyway, because this is what I'm being asked all the time. So I am really grateful to get to work on it and grateful to parts of University of Michigan for coming along, providing a student immediately to support this work and to get the toolkit ready. So thank you.
Wait, there's more.
Oh, there's more.
Commissioner Beaman and then Maciejewski.
Thank you, Chair. I want to just thank you for all of your work on this and your presentation. You know, this is impacting me in Saline Township. They're meeting this evening on this. I guess my biggest piece is really trying to help the community understand data centers and getting reliable information out into the community. And I don't necessarily want to put it onto your office, but have you seen any best practices or things in terms of being able to disseminate the real impact versus what they want to say will happen versus some scary, scary things that are out on the internet?
I don't think I have. And that's something that I'm really trying to get at right now. There are data centers in Virginia, in some parts of the Southwest, in some other areas that are quite different and differently regulated than Michigan. But we don't have good examples to draw from of data centers that are fully up and running and then can say, and here is what happened. And I'm looking for those examples because I do think that it's possible to tell a very, very promising story and it's possible to tell a very, very scary story. And I don't feel like I've found the example that I'm really impressed by yet, where there's been sound information being disseminated and then sustained follow-up to see what actually happened in this project and is it meeting its promises and its risks. But that's also a function of it being kind of new. So, but I hear your request and I feel it, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
No, I appreciate it. And just for a little context, the one in Saline Township is through an organization or a business that also is looking at a project in Canada, Chicago, Illinois, and Missouri, and in Wyoming as well. So it's got a broad reach.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Maciejewski.
Thank you, Chair. Many of my questions have been asked, but I wanted to just note, thank you for coming tonight and providing the overview and for developing the one pager that you're gonna have. I would suggest, again, not to make you necessarily the information point for all of this at the county, but to also develop some kind of FAQ document that we could direct the public to for information about these, which I would imagine is a kind of an evolving document over time. But thank you for being here and your attention to the matter.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other commissioner questions? I also want to thank you very much for being here. And we can do little other right now at this point than provide the information. And so I think this is a good point for us to be starting at. And I think you're doing a great job. And so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you, commissioners. Next up is Megan Bonfilio. Chair, as you know, you and I have talked about making sure that there is a regular update around the East Side Rec Center. And we thought we would begin with an update from our director. And also, I will say to you that Megan and I have talked about her coming back on some cadence in the future. So in between her visits, we will make sure that this item stays on the agenda and that we deliver any updates that are available in between her visits. So with that, I'll turn it over to Megan. Thank you for being here.
Okay, I'm learning. Thank you for having me tonight. Again, just to provide some updates on the Eastern Washtenaw Community Recreation Center project, focusing tonight on recent community engagement efforts and outreach, and then next steps, just looking forward. So I saw many of you a couple weeks ago at the presentations on September 11th and September 12th. We had a big push to provide an update to the community on where are we with the project. We were able to go over a number of different items at that meeting. Specifically though, we were focusing on the schematic design of the building. So getting people both excited, providing updates, and then also just hearing feedback. So you probably saw signs like this either out in the community, but we were hosted graciously at Christian Love Fellowship Church, which is located at basically the intersection of Stanford and Dawn, which is on the north portion of the site that we're building the property or the recreation center. So just getting the word out, we really did a full court press on getting information out to the community just to make sure it was covered broadly. One of the big tools we have at our disposal at County Parks is we have a distribution email list that goes out to 32,000 subscribers. We have a really good read rate on that, and a lot of people get information there. So we're going to continue to provide updates on that as we go forward. Getting lots of feedback from that as well. We have an active dedicated website that is at washtenaw.org/EWCRC. We're providing regular updates on that. Copies of all of the documents that were shown and the presentation that was shared at that meeting are available on the website. So really just trying to make it an opportunity for people to see it. We mailed out a postcard to about 7,000 households. That postcard, my goal was I'm hoping people put it up on a bulletin board or on a refrigerator, and it has a QR code that links directly to our website. So people can use that as a way to look at that information. And again, we had posters, banners, social media, all that stuff just to get information out about the event. And so again, we had really good attendance at this meeting. The formal presentation was on the 11th. We had about 80-ish participants. I didn't really get a chance to count because you're actively kind of answering questions. Again, thank you to Commissioner Somerville and Commissioner Light for really helping to step in and talk to the community. Being in your district, I think your people really appreciated hearing from you guys directly. And you're actively working on this project. On the 12th, it was more of an open house format, but we had about 50 people throughout the 4 hours we were open there. People just kind of steadily came in and walked through and looked at all the renderings. It was a really good opportunity for us to meet individually with folks and talk about their questions. Throughout both of those meetings, we had comment cards that were available, and pretty much everybody filled out a comment card. A lot of it was a reiteration of what we had talked about, but it's really nice to have that. Some people elected to share their email address, so we're kind of creating this way to continue to follow up with folks. Again, we talked about the schematic design concept at that meeting. We talked about the facility functioning as a resiliency hub. So again, Beth wears many hats, and Beth was at that meeting and also talked about how this facility can serve a critical role in the community as a resiliency hub. And then we had a very good conversation around with the community around just desired programs and facility usage into the future. So beyond those public meetings, we also took those same boards and have really been getting them out into the community. So for a couple of, these are the locations that they've been shared. We're focusing a lot on our partners at the library. So both the Superior branch and the Whitaker branch have hosted them. We're meeting with their municipalities, Superior and Ypsilanti Township, the city of Ypsilanti. Park Ridge Community Center has the boards right now. When we've reached out to a couple of our other municipal partners just to see if they're interested in having them as well. And all of those boards have this QR code that's in the corner that leads to another survey that basically says, what do you think? What are you seeing? How do you see yourself using this site? And I think to date, we've had at least 80 people respond just looking at those boards. So we're really getting a lot of good feedback and comments. So next steps for us, I think many of you know that we have a architectural and engineering services request for proposal it's out right now. Those bids are due tomorrow. I have been actively fielding lots of calls and emails and interest in the project. So I take that as a really good sign that we have a number of architectural companies that will be submitting proposals tomorrow. We'll quickly be reviewing the bids and then conducting interviews with those different firms and then awarding a bid hopefully on the 21st of October. And then right now we're working on a construction manager RFP to work with a construction manager at risk, which allows us to work with a construction manager who will also help advise us through the design process, but then hopefully allows us to expedite as we go in towards construction. And so that's something that we'll be letting the bid in mid-October, advertising for the 3 to 4 week period, and then awarding that early in December. And that is my update for this evening. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Somerville?
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to thank Megan and the county administrator for your work and moving this along, and to the whole board for continuing to make this a priority. And I want to say thank you to the commissioners who were present at the meeting in September, and especially to my Superior Township counterpart, Commissioner Light. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments for Megan? Commissioner Hodge?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I thought it was great. Unfortunately, I couldn't be at the two events, but looking forward to being at a future one. This is sort of, you said, thank you, Commissioner Somerville. Sort of kind of a left field kind of question, but last year, I think, or maybe the year before that, I had come to a Parks Commission meeting, and I think we briefly discussed potential value in adding a third commissioner, a county commissioner to the Parks Commission. I would wonder if that was something we wanted to think more about, just so we have more hands on the wheel. We don't usually want more hands on the wheel. Better metaphor than that. More people working on it. What do we think about that?
I think that that's something that we would certainly consider. I think we have really good commissioners who are super interested in this project right now, but I think we could always use more people who are supportive of this project.
Okay. So sounds like a maybe.
I don't think it's my call.
Yeah, you're right. It's the Parks Commission's call, right? So it's something for us to think. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanders?
I don't know what's going on with this ditto thing tonight, but I agree. And I would like to see additional representation on the east side and even possibly the west side. I think that we could have a better rounded committee if we had at least one, possibly two additional members. I don't know if that would be unwielding, but I think it would be helpful to add some different perspectives.
Any other commissioner? Megan, thank you. I will just say, thanks. I'm looking forward to hearing about this. As I've noted before, I asked the administrator just every time we have a meeting with an update. I don't necessarily think that needs to be you. And if the administrator just wants to give us like a few words just to keep it front and center in all of our minds so it doesn't slip through the cracks about things that are being done. I think we're making great progress. I think it's an interesting idea to add commissioners to the Parks Council or to the Parks Commission. However, commissioners, I still don't have people on WERS and Environmental Council and Road Commission. So I guess I'd like to see the commissions we have be filled before I offer more positions. So thank you. Administrator Dill, anything else?
Just to echo what you just indicated, Megan and I will stay in contact on this, of course, and we will provide regular updates to this body. That will conclude my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a report from the chair of the. What are you speaking to? Oh, to Megan?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like this quick.
Okay, sure. Go ahead. You
I just wanted to say thank you.
I looked
um,
over there most of the time. I asked 3 times.
Thank you for, stepping in the role and just allowing, sometimes I'm a wee bit kind of bossy, and just sitting down, explaining everything, making it clear, and being welcoming to ideas. I really appreciate it and the hard work that you've taken on.
Thank you.
Because it's a lot. So thank you.
Yeah, it's an awesome project, so I'm really excited to be a part of it, and it's exciting to see the passion from you in particular. So, thanks.
Thank you, Megan. Next item on the agenda is report from the Chair of the Board of Commissioners. I have no report. There is no special order of business. I'm going to poll the resolution this evening for the Washtenaw County Board of Canvassers. We'll get that back at the next meeting. I do want to remind boards and commissions and people in the community that there are appointments back up on the website as we're coming time for new appointments to be made. So if you're interested in serving, now is the time to check out who needs what on what committees and put in your bid. Would somebody like to move the consent agenda?
So moved.
I can just, why do I blank on this every time? Voice vote. Yeah, is there any discussion? There's never a discussion. Voice vote? All in
Aye.
favor? Any opposed? Great. Next item on the agenda, turn the page. Would anybody like to move the first reading, Commissioner LeBar?
A resolution adopting the exemption option for PA 152 of 2011 with
Oh.
negotiated premium sharing.
Is there support? Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Commissioner Robbie?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm abstaining from this vote due
Thank
to a
you.
potential conflict of interest.
Okay, thank you. All right, that item passes. We'll move to our second reading at the next meeting. Anybody like to move the final reading and single reading, Commissioner LeBar?
A resolution modifying the soil erosion and sediment control fee schedule from Water Resources Commissioner. B, a resolution authorizing the signature of the county administrator on the leases with Watts. And that's it for final reading, Chair.
Do you want to read the single reading too?
Sure. Single reading A, a resolution declaring November 2025 Family Court Awareness Month. B, a resolution opposing the elimination of the Household Food Security Survey by the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Sir, thank you. Any discussion? Anybody want to pull anything? Commissioner Machieski?
Just a discussion note.
Yeah, sure.
A thank you to the chair and thank you to Tabitha for the quick turnaround on the household food security survey resolution. I very much appreciate that.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Commissioner Beaman?
I just want to echo what Machieski said. Thank you so much. This is so important and I'm so disturbed.
Thank you. Any other discussion? I'm looking to my left. Okay. I see no other discussion, nobody wanting to pull anything. We'll do a roll call vote on all of those.
Commissioner Beaman,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodge.
Yes.
Commissioner LeBar,
Yes.
Commissioner Light,
Yes.
Commissioner Machieski,
Yes.
Commissioner Robbie, Commissioner Sanders,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yep.
Commissioner Somerville.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Fantastic. Next item is items for current and future discussion. Did I missed approve? Oh, we didn't move the approval of claims.
I move
Okay.
approval of claims,
Support.
Chair.
That's a roll call. We'll just do another roll call for the fun of it. Okay.
Commissioner Hodge,
Yep.
Commissioner LeBar,
Yes.
Commissioner Light,
Yes.
Commissioner Machieski,
Yes.
Commissioner Robbie, Commissioner Sanders,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yep.
Commissioner Somerville,
Yes.
Commissioner Beaman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Items for, thank you very much, Brendan. Any items for current and future discussion? Commissioner Beaman?
I just have two quick things. One is happy birthday to Commissioner Hodge.
Happy birthday.
And the other is to wish everyone a blessed Yom Kippur.
Thank you. Yay. Any other items for current and future discussion? Commissioner Robbie?
I do actually have one. This is, sometimes, you know, I use items for current and future discussion to talk about the depressing state of the fascist takeover of our country. But I just wanted to note that if you go to the HUD website now, there is a pop-up that says the radical left in Congress shut down the government in big letters. And then right on the page, it's this big red thing that says the radical left has shut down the government. I mean, this is an absolutely asinine display of fascism right before us. And I want to just remark on, I hope that we will be able to look back on this moment and tell future generations about how we lived through this. But like, this is absolutely undemocratic, un-American, and disgusting, vile, repugnant action that is taken by a department that is supposed to serve all Americans, and to make a political statement on your government website is absolutely atrocious and un-American. And so I just wanted to make sure to remark on that. And I will note that some of the other departments did not choose to go that route with their budget shutdown comment, but HUD did, and it's disgusting.
Here, here. Any other, now I'm doing it. Okay. Commissioner Labar?
Just also wanted to add it's a violation of the Hatch Act, so it's also illegal, so.
I love you guys. Anybody else with items for current and future discussion? I'm gonna say one quick thing. Why are you looking at me that way? You don't look at anybody else that way. One, the budget conversation coming up in the next few weeks is gonna be really difficult. I really want to reiterate my thank you to finance for doing the whole, the budget and the document that I think is a nice side part to that document that's not a side part at all, talking about our mandated services. I think that if we all spend a little bit of time in the next month or so taking a look at that, it's going to make some of the discussions a little bit easier. I agree with everybody talking about what's happening in DC, but I just want to tell you that like meetings like tonight and having a little baby shower for Blobby Robbie reminds me that when the issues get tough, like there's so much power in the fact that we continue showing up for each other here at this table, and that every step forward we take together adds up. And I'm hopeful because I know that I'm not doing this work alone. I'm doing it with all of you and everyone. I want to thank you for being here tonight. That's it. Any pending items? Oh, but Robbie wants to talk again.
I have a pending item.
Okay, a pending item.
This one's for Commissioner Somerville. I have a motion to adjourn.
All right, everyone in favor?